Good evening. It's 5:32 p.m. and we have a regular meeting of our city council, and it's Veterans Day. So first of all, please, if you have a veteran in your family, please recognize them this evening for the outstanding work they've done to keep us safe and free. And I also want to mention that our Veterans Day ceremony this morning, emceed by Councilmember Davis, was outstanding on the Santa Monica Pier. So I want to thank her for her efforts and thank all of you who came today and all of you who remember your ancestors who were veterans and kept America free throughout the last 250 years. So thank all of you. I'd like to ask all of you to turn off your phones or to vibrate only, so do not disrupt our meeting today. And could I have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilmember Terosas, you're here on time. We'll have you do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, council member. And roll call.
Councilmember Zwick,
Here.
Councilmember Parr,
Here.
Councilmember Davis,
Here.
Councilmember Terosas,
Here.
Councilmember De La Torre,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Negrete,
Here.
and Mayor Brock.
Here.
I will now ask if any council members will be recusing themselves from any items on the agenda pursuant to the Levine Act tonight. Hearing none, we'll now move on to agenda management. Mayor, you wanted to make a motion to hear all the special items? Does that include the city
Yes.
manager
I'd
report?
like to hear all the special items followed immediately after the commendations by the city manager's report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay. Item 3A, certificates of recognition for Elizabeth Noble, Mark Gorman, and Chris Gutierrez.
All right. This is an item I placed on the calendar, so I'm hoping that Ms. Noble, Mr. Gorman, and Ms. Gutierrez can come up right here. I think, as you all know, this is my last substantive council meeting, and in my 15 years on council, whenever I'm asked what makes Santa Monica so wonderful, is it the beach, is it the pier, is it the wonderful weather, my answer always is, it's the people. That is what makes this community so special. We have many assets, but they would be meaningless without the wonderful people who live here. So in sort of a swan song tonight, I wanted to call out three what I call unsung heroes. They don't sit on boards and commissions. They don't ask for any accolades. They just go out and make our community better. And I wanted to use my last night here to thank them for that. The first person I want to call out is Mark Gorman. Mark moved here in 2008. In 2020, after he retired, he was out on the Ocean Park streets during COVID-19 and started educating himself and the rest of us about the history of Ocean Park and Main Street in particular. And he originally wrote for the OPA biweekly update, but he learned so much that he actually started his own Substack blog, The Street Scene. And I encourage you all to read it. It's just fascinating to learn that that restaurant where you're enjoying delicious duck used to be an ice house or something like that. But the reason I really wanted to recognize Mark, and I don't mean to embarrass him here tonight, is that Mark does something that's so remarkable to me I can't articulate it very well, which is without any fanfare, without seeking any credit, without anyone taking pictures of him or calling it a program. Mark goes out and picks up trash in Ocean Park. And he just does it on his own because he loves his community. And to me, there's no greater evidence that somebody, without seeking any sort of recognition, decides to make his community just a little better. So I wanted to recognize Mark tonight for that. I've got two other people I want to recognize, and we can save our applause at the end if that's okay. The second person I wanted to recognize is Chris Gutierrez. Chris was born in Santa Monica. She's lived here 43 years. She is a peace educator, an environmentalist, and a community gardener, and I see her at the Main Street Community Gardens all the time. She co-founded Climate Action Santa Monica in 2013 and the Chasm Climate Corps for Youth in 2016. And then in 2017, she helped found the SAMO Safe Streets Alliance with Santa Monica Spoke that now includes the Youth Leadership Collective. But it is her work with youth that really has struck me. Through Chris, I have met so many wonderful high school age students who are really going to do great things. You are going to hear from them. And the reason they're going to do great things is because of the wonderful foundation that Chris has given them. She has mentored so many young people in this community, and I've just seen a fraction of it. But the work that she does, again, without seeking any accolades, without asking for any awards, she just goes out and does the work. She not only talks the talk, she walks the walk. She gets around without a vehicle, a motorized vehicle, a car. But more importantly, what she does is she connects with people. And so I really wanted to recognize her here tonight. And the last person is someone I've known a little less time, which is Liz Noble. I got to know Liz when I was mayor last year, and I decided that I wanted to adopt in my mayoral way the Santa Monica Animal Shelter. And her commitment to animals began when she was a young girl visiting the shelter to adopt her rabbit Aurora, which is a lovely name, and then volunteering at the shelter when she was in 7th grade at John Adams. When her friends were at Saturday morning soccer matches, she was comforting shy pit bulls and other dogs and cats at the shelter. The time she spent at the shelter made a lasting impression, and in 2019, she started volunteering at the shelter again, using her skills as a professional photographer, and she does amazing work as a professional photographer to showcase the animals to find them their forever home. Seeing how much her work made a difference and eager to help in a larger capacity, she joined the Animal Shelter Foundation Board in 2020 and was elected board chair in 2021. But I wanted to call out Liz because she saves lives. I urge you all to go on the Animal Shelter Foundation Instagram because every day Liz is posting new photos of the pets at the shelter who are waiting to be adopted. And she is saving those lives because due to her efforts, those pets are in fact getting adopted. And as anyone who knows, who has a pet knows, when a pet is adopted, it saves the pet's life, but it also saves the life of the person adopting the pet. So these are the three people I just wanted to call out in sort of my swan song here on the city council. The city, I could have found 100 people to put up here, but in the interest of time, I just wanted to focus on these three because I've been so impressed with the quiet work that they've done to make our community so much better. So we have certificates of recognition. I'm going to bring them down to you. We'll take a picture, but I hope you'll all join me in giving them a great round of applause.
Thank you all. Next item is item 3B, Commendation for Nat Trives. And I'm just trying to share my screen right now.
Well, this gentleman has received so many commendations throughout his life. Nat is known as a dedicated community leader, affectionately known as Mr. Santa Monica. He has devoted his life to public service, enriching the city of Santa Monica through various roles, including law enforcement, academia, and civic leadership. And whereas in 1958, Nat Trives joined the Santa Monica Police Department, where he served for 13 years, rising to the rank of sergeant and spending 5 years as president of the SMPOA. While returning to school, to earn a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice from Cal State LA. And whereas in 1971, Nat was elected to the Santa Monica City Council with the highest vote count among 18 candidates. And again in 1975 before being elected mayor for a 2-year term. And during his 8 years on the City Council, he played a key role in decisions that have had a lasting positive impact in Santa Monica. And whereas after leaving the Santa Monica Police Department in 1969, Nat became an assistant professor at Cal State LA, earning a Master of Public Administration from UCLA in 1974. He then went on to serve as Deputy Superintendent and Chief Government Relations Officer at Santa Monica College, completing a distinguished 40-year career in education and public service, and retiring as Emeritus Professor of Criminal Justice in 1997. And whereas Nat has demonstrated exceptional leadership through his involvement in numerous boards, including serving as past president of the Rotary Club of Santa Monica, board member and past president of the Santa Monica YMCA, past president and chair of New Road School, past chair and founding member of the Reverend Martin Luther King West Side Coalition, among many others. And whereas Nat is celebrating his 90th birthday on December 9th, 2024, a milestone that highlights his enduring impact and legacy as Mr. Santa Monica, inspiring countless individuals with his compassion and dedication to public service. Now, therefore, I, Phil Brock, Mayor of the City of Santa Monica, on behalf of the mayors of our City Council, do hereby commend Nat Trives in recognition of his 90th birthday and many extraordinary contributions to the City of Santa Monica. And I believe Nat may be watching on television.
He's right there.
He is here, right there, on television. So I just wanted to
May
hold this up. And this is the Commendation. I know you have seen many, many of those in your lifetime in Santa Monica, but this one is special, and we hope you have many more years of contributions to the people and places in Santa Monica. Thank you so much, Nat. Let's
Mr.
give
Mayor,
him a hand.
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me? Mr.
Nat, would you
Mayor?
like to say a few words?
Yes, sir. I don't know if I'm unmuted or not. Am I?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Honorable Mayor and members of the council, first of all, let's give thanks to our veterans on this wonderful Veterans Day. It's a real pleasure for me to be honored by my colleagues on this city council for my years of service. And one of the things that's kept me going is service to people is something that we all should do. And I'm proud to say I have a 72-year relationship with Santa Monica College, where in 1952, I was honored to leave Samo High as its student body president. And in the fall of that year, Santa Monica College opened its campus where it now sits on Pico Boulevard. And guess what? I was president of the first class entering that campus and served them for many years. And I love this city, as you all know. And you all know I'm a talker. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Matt. And
Now move on to item 3C, proclamation for Native American Heritage Month.
whereas the history of Santa Monica began not in 1875 when Senator Jones declared it a city, and whereas the history of Santa Monica began not in 1839 when the land was granted as a rancho to be owned and utilized for building private wealth, And whereas the history of Santa Monica began not in 1759, when Europeans first came upon this land and the people who were already living here, but whereas the history of this land called Santa Monica has existed since time immemorial, along with its original native caretakers, the Gabrielino, Tongva, and whereas each of us who are here now find ourselves to be living inside of this history. This history is commemorated each year in November during Native American Heritage Month. And whereas each of us have a responsibility to honor the history and take action to uplift the voices of the first people as we live in their unceded land. And whereas the city of Santa Monica intentionally seeks to be in a right relationship with the first people of this place, let it be known through our statement of accountability to the Gabrielino Tongva, or a land acknowledgement, that the city of Santa Monica is located on the land of Tongvagar. With great respect, the city acknowledges the Gabrielino Tongva as the first people of this ancestral and unceded territory of Kuravingda, a village that we know now as Santa Monica. We honor their elders, past and present, and the Gabrielino descendants who are part of the Gabrielino Tongva tribes. Excuse me. We recognize that these peoples are still here, and as settlers and QAM guests, we recognize our responsibility and obligation to care for their land in partnership with them. The city of Santa Monica commits to work in partnership with the Gabrielino Tongva people to uplift their voices and visibility on their ancestral land. Now, therefore, I, Phil Brock, Mayor of the City of Santa Monica, on behalf of the members of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2024 as Native American Heritage Month in the City of Santa Monica. Can you walk this down, please? Do you want to walk it down and present it? And we're going to walk down a proclamation for you to hold and have. Yeah.
I just want to thank the city of Santa Monica for this proclamation. You know, we never sold our land and we never gave it away. We have our history is not told. I don't know if you all know, but the first governor of California said, kill them all. They're in our way. So many of us took Mexican identity to protect ourselves. I happened to be fortunate enough that my great-great-grandmother came back to where they were originally from. That's why we live in the west side. Most of us live inland in San Gabriel or in City of Terrace and those, mostly inland, but we came back to where we were originally from. Now, many of you don't know, but I am from the village of Guruvangna. Guruvangna is where the springs are, where Santa Monica originally got their name. And I was delivered by an African-American doctor by the name of Marcus Tucker. I was born at home on the corner of Federal and Olympic. I'm 87 years old, so I've been around a long time. But many of you have never heard of Dr. Tucker, and that's why I want to make it clear that he was African-American. He delivered me at home on Federal Avenue and Olympic. But I want to thank you again for having me and to receive this certificate from the city of Santa Monica on behalf of my tribe, the Gabrielino Tongva Tribal Council of San Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let's get a picture.
Back up here. David, if you stand in front of me. David, you can just stand off to the side.
Item 3D, commendation for Chez Jay.
So the second half of this year, every meeting, I've been recognizing a longtime establishment, whether it be a hat store, a shoe cobbler, a dry cleaners, and strangely enough, mostly a lot of restaurants, because so many people feel that their history is encapsulated by their pleasant times dining, their family events, the events that help shape them as they grow up. Well, I will tell you that the restaurant really that creates most of those events in Santa Monica is Chez Jay. And the remarkable stories that have come out of Chez Jay since 1959, when Jay opened. And I first of all, I want to say I'm upset. You didn't bring an elephant with you. We should have had an elephant here to distribute peanuts. So I want you to know, before I read the commendation, that this restaurant embodies the spirit of Santa Monica in many ways. A little tawdry, a little down the dumps sometimes, but but always a place for everyone to gather of all economic persuasions, people. This is Santa Monica's Cheers, and it has been that way for a long, long time. And under the third generation of leadership, it will be here for a much longer time. So let me read a commendation to you. Whereas Chez Jay, located at 1657 Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica, was originally designed by architect John Butler in 1947, transformed in 1959 by East Coast actor Jay Fiorandella into an iconic dive bar, named after the Supper Club and the Rat Pack classic Pal Joey. And whereas Chez Jay's grand opening in 1959 boasted showgirls and a real circus elephant, I wasn't lying about that, who scarfed down the peanuts that covered the bar's floor and made a permanent dent in the bar counter with his trunk. And whereas this historic bar has become a timeless legend in Santa Monica and beyond, remained virtually unchanged for 65 years, except for the addition of the now outdoor area known as the backyard. And whereas Chez Jay has been a favorite of A-list celebrities throughout the decades, including icons such as Frank Sinatra, Julie Andrews, Lee Marvin, Kiefer Sutherland, and Renee Zellweger, all of whom have been drawn to its relaxed atmosphere and its strict no photos rule. Whereas countless colorful stories have played out within Chez Jay's walls, including astronaut Alan Shepard taking a Chez Jay peanut to the moon, Lee Marvin's dramatic motorcycle entrance, and the historic exchange of the Pentagon Papers, among many other memorable moments. And whereas in 2012, Chez Jay was officially recognized for its significance to Santa Monica's cultural heritage with a designation as an historical landmark, and whereas founder Jay Fiorandella died in 2008, and Mike Anderson, who had been his general manager since the 1970s, became the owner of Chez Jay in 2000, and in 2017, Mike's son, Chris Anderson, took over as GM to assure the legend of Chez Jay lives on. Now, therefore, I, Phil Brock, Mayor of the City of Santa Monica, on behalf of the members of our entire City Council, do hereby commend Chez Jay for its rich history, its iconic status, and its continued role as a beloved gathering place for the community over 6 decades. And I'll bring the commendation down, but you're welcome to tell a couple of the stories yourselves. One of you can go up.
We're happy to be here, and thank you for this award. We're very excited. We also brought our head chef, third generation, or he's second, but his children have worked at Chez Jay's to here. I want him to say a few words. Because it's a kind of place that we want everyone in the community and around the world to come and enjoy. We've had lots of people working there. If you've been there for 10 years, you're a rookie at our place, so we want to make sure everyone stays and enjoys. It's a special place for us, and if you haven't been there, I highly recommend to come by, experience the history. We try our best to preserve it, and I think that's what we're all about. So I would like Memo to say a few words, because he's a big part of our team, continuing the history of what we are.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not a good talker, but, if you guys come to Chez Jay's, I'm pretty sure I can cook for all of you guys. And any way you want me to cook, I'll be there for you guys. Thank you so much for all the support, and thank you guys for everything.
Now, Michael, you have to come up. I had one question for you. What happened to the peanut that Steve McQueen grabbed off the counter and tried to eat? Where are the remains?
He ate it. He ate it.
Yeah.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Item 3E, City Manager Report.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. First and foremost, I want to echo the mayor's sentiments and thank everyone who attended the Veterans Day ceremony this morning at the Santa Monica Pier. It was, as always, a beautiful event and a fitting way to honor those who have dedicated their lives to defending our freedoms. To all the veterans and service members in our community, I also want to extend my deepest gratitude. And thank you to all who attended the unveiling just this evening of the plaque in front of City Hall displaying the statement apologizing to Santa Monica's African-American residents and their descendants. The plaque is a perfect way to commemorate the second anniversary of the council's adoption of the apology statement, and both are a testament to the great work by the city's DEI team in partnership with the leadership of the Committee for Racial Justice. Thank you to them all. Now I'd like to share some quick housekeeping and a few other updates. This will be the only City Council meeting in November due to the Thanksgiving holiday later this month. City Hall will be closed on November 28th and 29th for Thanksgiving. Please visit santamonica.gov for a list of other facility closures and service changes. On Tuesday, December 10th, we will have a City Council meeting to swear in the new members of the council and to acknowledge and thank outgoing members for their service. There will be a regular City Council meeting on the following Tuesday, December 17th, at which we will conduct regular city business, and that will be the last City Council meeting of the year. Last week, we successfully held the 2024 municipal election, and so many thanks to the team in the City Clerk's office for their dedication and hard work, and to the County Registrar for supporting. And a huge thank you to Santa Monica's voters, who overwhelmingly passed 2 city ballot measures. That's a testament to the hard work and the public trust and confidence in the services we deliver to the community. And as our organization continues to face budget constraints, the resources from these measures are desperately needed. As you heard in the proclamation tonight, November is Native American Heritage Month, and I hope that you'll take some time to attend one of the city's events this month. The Refractions exhibit, which is a collection of contemporary artworks by local Native and Indigenous artists, curated by Metzley Projects, recently opened at the Annenberg Community Beach House and is well worth a visit. And there's a community visit to Gurvunga Springs on Wednesday that I recommend checking out. You can find more information on our website as well. Thank you to everyone in the community who provided feedback on the future of the airport via the Airport Conversion Project Phase 2 survey. The next big opportunity to engage on the airport conversion project will be a community meeting this December 7th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Memorial Park Gym, where the project team will go over results from the survey and share draft guiding principles. In response to the City Council's direction at the October 22nd meeting to identify trade-offs and budget reallocations necessary to address street and pedestrian light issues, I want to report on some progress we've been making. The Public Works Department reallocated existing staff from the Facilities Maintenance Division to provide immediate temporary support in addressing the current streetlight service backlog. Also, the department is evaluating the need for additional resources and other strategies for a permanent operational solution, and we will report back in January of 2025. Finally, the city received 2 awards recently that I would like to highlight. First, the National Water Environmental Federation awarded the 2024 Excellence Award to the City of Santa Monica's Sustainable Water Infrastructure Project, or SWIP. This award recognizes the top project in the United States for its excellence and innovation in the water sector. Congratulations to the Water Resources Division, and thank you for all of your hard work moving the city closer to its water self-sufficiency goals. And finally, the Southern California chapter of the American Public Works Association named the city's Safe Streets for 17th Street and Michigan Avenue project one of the best projects of the year in the transportation category. Congratulations to our mobility team, and thank you to them for all their hard work to keep Santa Monica sustainable and connected, and of course to our Public Works team for delivering and managing the construction project. Thank you very much.
I had a quick question for you.
Sure.
I understood we were going to do something for Mr. Lloyd Allen at Virginia Avenue Park in September, I thought.
Correct.
What is the status of that?
I don't have a status update at this moment.
Okay, because so things are still going to happen.
I'll have to follow up with the DI team.
Thank you.
We'll now move back to general public input. Public comment is permitted only on items not on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. State law prohibits the city council from taking any action on items not listed on the agenda, including issues raised under this agenda item. First, we have 3 students who we will hear first. Nathan Bodie, Shayna Kadish, and Luke Terlizzi, followed by John Medlin and Christina Correa. You may proceed.
Hello, honorable council members and mayor. My name is Nathan Bodie. I am a senior at Santa Monica High School, and it is an honor to address you all. I'm here with fellow members of my band to represent the Samo High Band Program and request your support for the upcoming 2025 Samo High Wind Ensemble UK Tour. I'm a clarinetist for the Samo High Wind Ensemble and a clarinet section leader in the Samo High Marching Band. Through the amazing program at Samo High, I've had great opportunities, such as playing at the Broad Stage in the marching band on tour and tour for the Wind Symphony in Seattle. However, as a senior, we'll be traveling with the Wind Ensemble, and it will be my first international tour. We'll have an amazing opportunity to tour the United Kingdom, representing not only Samo High, but the city of Santa Monica. On this trip, we will have the chance to play and experience 3 cities, Edinburgh, Manchester, and London. We will play in St. Mary's Episcopal Cathedral in Edinburgh, attend a workshop at the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester, and perform at the Royal College in London. We understand it is a big ask, but please know how seriously we take the music program, not only for myself, but everybody in the band, and the opportunity to represent the city of Santa Monica. Speaking for myself, I am so appreciative of the music program and understand the wonderful opportunity we have been offered. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Shayna Kadish.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Jana Kadish, and I'm a senior at Samo, where I am the marching band president and play flute and piccolo in our wind ensemble. Like many of my fellow Samo High musicians, I have grown up playing on the stages of Santa Monica. We've played at our elementary schools, Lincoln Jams, in the Greek and at the Humanities Center, at various churches and synagogues, the Broad Stage, and of course in Barnum Hall. We love being able to share the gift of music with the people of Santa Monica. Now, we are looking forward to being able to share this same gift with the people of the United Kingdom. The Samo High Band Program has planned a trip to Edinburgh, Manchester, and London for 62 of our musicians. In order to make this happen, we are asking for your support. Trips such as this are not inexpensive, but they are life-changing. As we explore places most of us have never been, we look forward to being ambassadors of our great city, demonstrating Santa Monica's outstanding educational system, diverse population, and cultural excellence. During our performances, which will be open to the public, we are excited to showcase Santa Monica's amazing music education program alongside great musicians such as clarinetist Julian Bliss. For many of us, our first trip abroad is an extremely special milestone and will be the highlight of our high school music experience, something we are extremely grateful for. On behalf of the Samo High Wind Ensemble, we would like to invite you to be our guests at our benefit concert, Bands on the Road, on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. We are so excited to represent Santa Monica abroad and appreciate your consideration to help make this trip a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go Vikings.
Luke Terlizzi?
Good evening, honorable council members. I am Luke Terlizzi, a senior trombonist at Samo High, and on behalf of the Samo High Band, I would like to thank this council for its past contributions to our program. Due to this body support, our band has been able to travel the world. In 2023, your support got us to Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and the learning opportunities we had there have changed our lives. I was there on that trip, and when we visited the city of Derry in Northern Ireland, we were shown a life experience 180 degrees opposite of what we come from. As you may know, Derry was the site of one of the biggest tragedies in the modern day, the Bloody Sunday Massacre. And when you are there, you can feel the weight of its history on your shoulders. In addition to the bullet holes still preserved since that tragic day, our tour guide was the son of one of the victims of the massacre. And these experiences, through your generous support, gave us a learning experience that we will never forget in an environment that can't be replicated in a classroom. In addition to these learning environments that these trips provide, they also provide the cultural exchange through our music. It connects new traditions and expands our horizons. And now for the next class of students to have this experience, we hope that you will once again be able to provide your support, seeing the large benefits it has on its students. As a group, we will either go together or not go at all, and your contribution could make a difference for those who might not be able to afford the cost of the trip. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present this council with a small photo plaque from the Wind Ensemble's tour to Ireland in 2023. And once again, thank you for your time and your generous support. Thank you.
Can you do me a favor? This is out of order, but come up to the well. And let's get a picture with all the students who came. And if you could turn around.
That's awesome.
And obviously, go Vikings. I happened to stumble into Winchester Cathedral a few years ago in London, and accidentally, lo and behold, there were our choirs about to sing. And it was an absolute joy to be in London and see representatives of Santa Monica High School make that fabled cathedral just really sing. So thank you.
John Metlin?
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor, member of City Council, City Manager, and City Attorney. And also, my name's John Metlin. I've been a resident here for over 28 years. And I first visited Chez Jay in 1967, 57 years ago. Great to see you guys here. 6 weeks before our recent City Council elections, attacks were made before this body by supporters of the winning United Slate candidate against the Canada's Safer Slate. Among those attacks were allegations of anti-Semitism and racism supposed to have occurred 5 years earlier. The United Slate has made no comments on those attacks by their supporters. These events brought back memories to me of prior presidential elections. In October 2008, John McCain was trailing Barack Obama when he was sent a closing speech for the last debate. That speech focused on Obama's full name, Barack Hussein Obama. highlighting Obama's Muslim heritage and alleged religion. McCain refused to use that speech. In 2001, on January 6th, as rioters were attacking our nation's capital, Donald Trump remained silent in his office for more than 3 hours watching the insurrection when he could have made a statement to his supporters to stop the rioting. During his silence, 174 police officers were injured. Everyone knows politics is not for the weak or faint of heart. War without the blood. What difference does it make? The safer slate lost. Get over it. That is how many, if not most, will see these attacks, those actions. I believe there's a more important distinction, a longer-term, longer-lasting perspective. Should we look at the actions of the United Slate, winners of the city council elections, as similar to the actions of which Republican? The profile and courage of John McCain, who lost the presidential election in 2008, or the shameful silence of Donald Trump, who won the presidential election in 2024? I choose the latter. Character counts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
Christina Correa, and before you get started, Ms. Correa, I'm going to call some more names. Canella Welch, Jerry Rubin, Zoe Montaner, Denise Barton, and Daria Jones. You may proceed.
Okay. Good morning. Yeah, good evening, City Council members. Congratulations, Nat Travis, and also I love Chez Jay's. I've been there for many years, my dad, and thank you to our vets for today and every day. My name is Christina Correa, and I'm here to share my ongoing struggle with the city and the workers' comp system, an issue that has deeply affected my life for the past 16 years since I've been retired. 24 years ago, I was injured while serving as a police officer, shot in line of duty while protecting our community. I also sustained several other serious injuries while on job. I'm proud of my service and would gladly do it over again. But since that day, I've been fighting, not on the streets, but with a system that should be supporting me. For 16 years, I've endured countless delays in getting my medical treatment I need and in trying to settle my case. This prolonged process has not only affected my health and my ability to heal, but has impacted my life overall. Despite following every protocol, waiting patiently and jumping through endless hoops, I am still waiting. Every delay, every obstacle has caused me not only physical pain, but immense mental anguish. It's hard to sleep when you feel forgotten, neglected, and sometimes even feel discriminated against. I can't help but wonder if my case would be handled differently if I were a male officer. If there's any chance that gender or ethnicity has played a role, I urge the city to please review and share data on how the claims are being processed, ensuring fair and equal treatment for every officer. If that's the case, I'm asking for transparency and accountability. I want to see the data that compares how many male officers and female officers are treated during this, to ensure that this is not happening and to address any potential bias. Furthermore, I want answers. Why are our work comp systems dragging cases out? Why are we being delayed and denied? Why are we being bullied by work comp lawyers, questioning our credibility when we have legitimate injuries sustained in line of duty while protecting our community? It is unacceptable, and it's critical that we address these issues for the sake of every first responder who puts their life on the line for the city. This ultimately isn't just about me. It's about a message being sent to every police officer, firefighter who puts their life at risk for the city. When we are hurt, when we make sacrifices, we should be able to count on the city to stand behind us and support us. We should not have to fight a separate battle just to get what we are rightfully owed. I am not asking for special treatment. I'm simply asking for fairness and for what's right. I'm ready to close this chapter and move forward and find peace.
Thank you very much.
Canella Welch.
Resident of Santa Monica. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the panel. Today we gather to honor the unwavering spirit of a remarkable individual, a police officer, Christina Correa, who has dedicated her life to serving and protecting our community. It is with both a heavy heart and immense respect that I stand before you to speak about her journey, a journey marked by courage, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to justice. 16 years ago, our brave officer was shot in the line of duty, an act of violence that changed her life forever in an instant. She went from being a protector of our streets to a victim of circumstances that many of us cannot begin to fathom. Yet despite the physical and emotional scars, she has remained steadfast in her pursuit of justice, not just for herself, but for all those who serve our community. For the past 16 years, she has fought a legal battle that many would have deemed insurmountable. This lawsuit is not merely a fight for compensation. It is a fight for recognition of the sacrifices made by those who wear the badge, a fight against the silence that often envelops the struggles of our law enforcement officers. Her persistence is a testament to her character, a reflection of the courage that she displayed on that fateful day. As we reflect on her journey, let us remember that the fight she faces extends beyond the courtroom. It is a fight against the stigma surrounding mental and physical injuries sustained in the line of duty. It is a call to action for all of us to support our officers, to advocate for their rights, and to ensure that they are provided with the resources they need to heal and thrive. Today, we stand with her not just as a panel, but as a community that values the sacrifices of our law enforcement officers. Let us honor her bravery by reaffirming our commitment.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, we really don't want any clapping here. Thank you so much.
Next speaker is Jerry Rubin.
Thank you, Jerry Rubin, Santa Monica, Honorable Mayor, council members, city staff. I want to thank Councilmember Gleam Davis for commending the Santa Monica Animal Shelter. My late wife, Marissa, many years ago, got our beautiful kitty cat, Sonny, from that shelter, and sadly, I had to have him put to sleep the day before yesterday. So rest in peace, Sonny. About the veterans, I want to acknowledge once again the Veterans for Peace and the great work they did setting up Arlington West for many, many years right near the pier. I also want to thank the city for creating the Santa Monica Veterans Monument up there in Palisades Park. Originally, it was proposed to be right near the Children's Tree of Life, but the city staff was sensitive to that. So were the veterans and the peace activists that came together that felt we should acknowledge the good work of our veterans, but not glorify the weapons of war. It was originally proposed to be next to the cannon, but they moved it a few blocks north. It's a beautiful monument. On this day at 11 o'clock, every Veterans Day, the shadows come out perfectly, and it's a beautiful thing. So thank all you veterans. The last thing I want to say is congratulations to those that won the election, and thank you so much for all the people that have served the city for many, many years, and I know will continue. When we come together on December 10th, let's repledge to work towards win-win solutions in our great city and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Zoe Montaner.
Good evening, council members. Thank you so much for asking us to honor veterans. I was planning to do so. In the spirit of Veterans Day, I want to honor Felipe Segarra, my grandfather, Felipe Segarra Jr., my uncle, Maximilian Cohen, my grandfather, and Juan Antonio Montaner, my father. My family have served this country, and sadly, they didn't do so expecting that their daughter, granddaughter, or niece was going to be treated like a second-class citizen in America. And I'm bringing this to your attention because the city clerk decided to appoint a candidate when I filed a challenge with the courts, and the challenge is very still alive in appeal. To do so exposes the city to litigation. In the middle of a big litigation that you guys already have challenging the CRV code, this is not a good look. You're going to lose that election if you allow this to happen. Why? Because I'm Latina, I'm Puerto Rican, and they're appointing a white woman to the role when the appointment is not legal, even by the code. So I sent an email to Esther Lina Lugo, who I actually spoke. I've been the only citizen in Santa Monica who checked the papers and the affidavits of all the candidates that were running for this election. I found irregularities, I reported them. The city of Fullerton filed criminal charges because one candidate decided to violate the code. The city attorney of Santa Monica has not filed charges and have not done an investigation.
Thank you very much.
Denise Barton.
Good evening. On this Veterans Day, I'd like to thank my grandfather, who's no longer with us. But unfortunately, things are not getting better for affordable housing tenants. I say this because remember the October 22nd, 2024 City Council meeting during public input when I spoke about the time mist air fresheners making me sick? Well, now management is turning it off and on depending on who comes to the office. In addition to that, there is now a thick layer of white unidentified powder being put out in the common areas of the first floor and the elevator, which has made me sick before. And did I mention that there is a fan by the elevator making the unidentified white powder airborne? I have reasonable accommodation letters for the cleaning product Fabulosa, the unidentified white powder, and the time mist air freshener. So it appears that our reasonable accommodation requests are being used against me. And since the white powder didn't start being put out heavily until after I submitted a request for reimbursement for my medical bills and compensation for harassment due to being subjected to the use of the time mist air fresheners, again, I see it as retaliation. Then, by the way, does the attendance rules for boards and commissions pertain to you too? Because you have 2 consecutive canceled meetings and have canceled 6 or more meetings in a year, leaving one to ask those of you left up there, who of you really wants to be here? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Daria Jones, and before you get started, Ms. Jones, I'm going to call, I think the rest of the names on the list. Brian O'Neill, Mary Cornejo, and Jonathan. You may proceed. Daria, you may proceed. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Before I say anything else, please know how very grateful I am for today's unveiling of the plaque showcasing the Santa Monica Black Apology. This plaque fills me with hope. Hopeful as I am, I also want to share my reflection on this moment. Today, as we reflect on Santa Monica's Black Apology, we stand at a critical threshold in what some may call dire times. While acknowledging past and present injustices is essential, racial justice cannot be delayed until everyone fully understands or agrees with the issues at hand. As Dr. Reverend King Jr. once said, justice too long delayed is justice denied. Friends, justice is an urgent need, not a lesson to wait on. That said, I am hopeful and confident that with the incoming council members, there may be a new opportunity for actionable racial justice in our city, but we must move forward without waiting for awareness to blossom universally. Every moment of delay comes at the cost of those who still face the injustices we acknowledge today, grateful as I am for that acknowledgement. We are, of course, all learning as we move forward, but learning must not become an excuse for inaction. Racial justice is not just a concept to understand and meditate on, it is an imperative to act upon. Santa Monica has a chance to lead by taking action that prioritizes justice over convenience and courage over consensus, abundant love over the scarcity of the status quo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian O'Neill.
Good evening. Great to be here. Longtime Santa Monica resident. Just wanted to make a public comment about this recent elections in our city. And I'm fearful for what's about to happen when what I'll call the machine slate, the Santa Monica SMER, Santa Monica Forward, SEPS, the Committee on Excellence in Public Schools, which operates as a political lobbying arm. Their candidates all won. The candidates with some resident credibility lost. And I see Oscar and Phil right in front of me now. This, for me, is tragic. The gentleman earlier talked about character, and I'm going to read real quick a text I got from Gleam Davis, Council Member Gleam Davis, on the behalf of SEPS. Hi, Brian. This is former Mayor Gleam Davis. For the sake of our city, please think twice about voting for Oscar de la Torre. Oscar and his wife are suing the city. Oscar's been pressuring us to concede the lawsuit and pay millions of dollars to his personal attorney. Oh, my God. This is patently false, misleading. As Gleam Davis knows, and as an attorney, Oscar is not suing the city. the PNA, the Pico Neighborhood Association, and Maria Loya, his wife, are not for personal gain. That's what's being insinuated here, that millions of dollars are going to go to Oscar, his wife, for the PNA. Pure lies. And this was long-term council member Galeem Davis, who I'm very happy will be stepping down. I will never forget being verbally assaulted by you 6 years ago, defending my neighborhood from a preschool, a business on my street that was never needed. It woke me up to the political machine that Galeem represents, that has run our city for 30, 40 years. So my hope is the new candidates, the new crop, actually start to listen to the rest, not the developers and special interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next is Mary Cornejo.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Brock and all the city council members. I'm speaking on to give my testimony regarding the lies being spread during the election. I live in the Pico neighborhood, and a paid canvasser supporting the Santa Monica for Renters' Rights candidates came to my door and tried to convince me to vote for their candidates by saying that Phil Brock and Oscar de la Torre are against rent control and renters. She spoke to me in Spanish and said that Phil Brock pushed for 6% increase in rent hikes. I told her that that was a lie, and in fact, Oscar de la Torre had pushed to 3% rent hike. She told me that was not true. She said that if we want to protect rent control, I needed to vote for these candidates. I told her to stop spreading lies and that she had to leave. As a renter and a voter, I think it was wrong to spread these lies in an election to confuse the voters. I guess this is how dirty politics work. And I'm so disheartened that I had to see this firsthand. And I'm a native to Santa Monica. And to be honest with you, they voted out the main people that would be helping Santa Monica. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan?
Hello, Jonathan. I don't feel very well. I'm shivering and I can't even control myself. But I wanted to say, in relation to the Santa Monica apology that I just heard about, it's been kind of new to me. You know, a guy I wasn't very happy with, George Floyd, but at the LAPD, there was a George Floyd Valentine that went around the department, said, "You take my breath away." And they won't say who wrote it, and they won't fire the officer that did so. So I want to talk about what I came here for. It's not 3.0. It's still about Dale Torrey, baloney. And, your mother is awesome. Your sister's awesome, okay? This doesn't give you or Nori or Basera or Luis Alejo, all the voice, it doesn't give you guys an ability to tell us that we can't turn people over to ICE and that we can close the border. Because your mom and they're nice people, nicer than me. You're nicer than me. You got a wife and family. I'm just a dumb drummer that lives in my car. Pretty much a piece of shit. Okay? But there's some people that's dead. Jamil, you talk about the black apology. Jamil Shaw Jr. is dead. He got shot in the face by a dreamer. Shot him in the face. His little brother was with him, watched him die. I'm ready to stand up for black people. I'm ready to shut down the border and deport all the people, turn them over to ICE and all this kind of stuff. And your mother is still awesome. Awesome. 8 kids? I mean, that just obliterated everybody. Your mom is incredible. Really. But when we talk about justice, there's a thing called love. Love, love. In justice, there's love and justice. And that means that people who really done things that are really heinous gotta go, bro. They gotta go. All of them, they gotta go.
Thank you very much.
That concludes public input for this evening. We'll now move on to public input under agenda items for closed session, special agenda items, and consent calendar only. No public input is permitted on ordinances for second reading and adoption. We have 3 names on the list: Gary Walkow, Chris Grunko, and Denise Barton.
Hi, my name is Gary Walco. This is my first time at a city council meeting. It's very moving to see the city government in action, so thank you all for your service. I had a couple of pictures to show you, but I didn't realize they had to be inputted by 12 o'clock. My friend of mine who's done city, been part of the council, said I could just bring them. So I'm going to send them by email if you guys want to look at them tomorrow. I have a couple on my computer if I have time to hold them up. But what I want to talk about is I've lived at 2501 Beverly Avenue, apartment number 2 for 43 years. Hope to live there for another 20. I love Santa Monica. I'm a writer, and I live and work in my apartment, which is the front corner apartment on the second floor, south side of the building. A year ago, the owners at the neighboring property, 2511, immediately to the south, installed a hedge of 5 closely planted trees that are approximately 33 feet tall and densely planted together. My bedroom and office are now in permanent darkness with no direct sunlight because of this excessively tall hedge. My quality of life and the quality of life of other apartments has been adversely affected. I came here tonight regarding point N on your agenda. The language in your discussion section states that the priorities tend to align with how impactful the violation is on the quality of life of nearby residents. That is exactly the case here. And I want to be clear, I'm talking about a side hedge, not a front hedge, because I know there's been a lot of complaints about front hedges, and that's diverted a lot of effort in the code violation department, code enforcement. The code violation officer, Santavia Signod and Daniel Mick, have already made a site visit, and they determined the hedge was in violation and should be cut down to 12 feet.
Thank you very much, sir.
Basically, it's about trying to have this code violation completed, even though the officers have been out there, agreed it should.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Chris Grunka. Chris Grunka? Okay, Denise Barton?
And good evening. On item 5A, the so-called security service by Legion Corporation downtown, which in actuality is a homeless person moving service, not security in any way. Showing again, it's nothing more than an image like most things in the city, for which you are making the assessment payers downtown pay almost $2 million for, which is a significant amount decrease from the assessment funds, which are supposed to be used for activation of the promenade. But Gleam Davis, Caroline Trosis, and Jesse Zwick chose to continue defunding the police, so the number of officers has not increased since 2019, or in 5 years. And I do wonder if the actions like this violate your oath of office. Which would bring us to item 5I. I completely agree with developing a new website for recruitment of new police officers, but I have to question if you're only hiring 4 new officers per year 2024-2025 budget, wouldn't that equate to over $25,000 for each new recruit? And you're not hiring new police officers, only keeping the officer numbers at the same as 2019. But hasn't the environment within the city taken a significant downturn since that time? Which would indicate that more police officer protection is needed within the city. But Gleam Davis, Caroline Terosas, and Jesse Zwick voted against the funding every time. Or would this be an action by the SMER candidates to get the change slate out of office to get the SMER candidates back in? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan?
Hello, Jonathan. And, you know, as a performer on 3rd Street, I ran into these people, and it's been, you know, I had the 2 guys standing over me, and they got me into some criminal charge where I'm on the drums, and the guy's reaching into my drum and touching stuff, and I hit, you know, he says I hit his hand and all this kind of stuff. I got a criminal charge for this. I'm out $2,000 because of this thing that you hired out there, that they hired. And I've noticed too, something that's really sick is it's a 501c3, but it fronts as the city.
Jonathan?
It's a 501c3, it fronts as the city. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're the mayor.
Does this have anything to do with an item on the agenda?
About the service agreements between downtown.
Okay.
Somebody
Thank you
authorized
very much, sir.
for private security.
I'm
Okay,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So they cost me a lot of money. And I've finally saved and saved and saved and saved and saved as best I could and trying to get out of the trap, right? And everybody needs a pay stub and a credit report. But I'm still out $2,000 I could use for rent. And these people had no business touching my equipment, and I told them no and everything. And this went to the city attorney, and then some hullabaloo went on over there. I made a phone call. They told me to call down to the courthouse at LAX, which I did. They said they didn't have a record and all this kind of stuff. It was only just a few days, but they never sent it down there. It got, denied and things like this. And so I still hired a lawyer, and they took my money and stuff like this. But what prompted this was the security guards themselves were not conducting themselves correctly. And I've seen them out there over and over and over again violating people's civil rights. With what they're hired, they're doing things the police department can't do. How are they getting away with this? You need to hire somebody else, basically. Get rid of Legion and hire another security team.
Thank you, sir. Hope you feel better.
That concludes public input on item 2. We'll now move on to closed session. We have one closed session item this evening. Item 4A, conference with legal counsel for existing litigation, Paula Rosado versus the city.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I think we can do 7:15.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Okay, we will take a break now. We'll be back at 7:15 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, if I can have the audience settle, please. We are coming back to life. Closed session is over. And if I could, our city attorney would like to report out.
Yes, in the Rosado case we just heard, the case is settled for $300,000. The vote was 7-0, and it will be paid by insurance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Apparently, we're reliving our past.
And if the clerk could call the next item.
Santa Monica 3-Minute History Series. Today we will talk about the Pacific Ocean Park, LA's lost marine-themed amusement park. In the early 1900s, the pleasure piers in Santa Monica and Venice were a premier destination. The piers emerged at the foot of Pier Avenue, where Abbot Kinney's original 1898 wharf had given way to a succession of larger and more thrilling iterations.
Can you start that
including
over?
Fraser's $1 Million
So we
Pier,
know what's
the
coming?
Pickering Pleasure Pier, and finally,
I apologize.
welcome to the Santa
this is
Monica
our-
3-Minute History Series.
This is
Today
our three.
we will talk.
This is our 3-minute history service. This week is on Pacific Ocean Park. It's 3 minutes long, and it's presented by the Conservancy and the History Museum. If all of you could listen in and watch, thank you.
Welcome to the Santa Monica 3-Minute History Series. Today we will talk about the Pacific Ocean Park, LA's lost marine-themed amusement park. In the early 1900s, the pleasure piers in Santa Monica and Venice were a premier destination. The piers emerged at the foot of Pier Avenue, where Abbot Kinney's original 1898 wharf had given way to a succession of larger and more thrilling iterations, including Fraser's $1 Million Pier, the Pickering Pleasure Pier, and finally, the Ocean Park Pier and its sister on the Venice side, the Lick Pier. In 1956, after plans to invest in Disneyland fell through, entrepreneur and racetrack owner Charles H. Strub purchased the Ocean Park Pier and began planning his own amusement park. His company partnered with CBS to construct Pacific Ocean Park, or POP, a marine-themed park that sought to rival the quality of Disneyland. They soon combined the Lick Pier and its famous Aragon Ballroom with the Ocean Park Pier. Hollywood special effects experts designed the new nautical aspects of the park, and existing attractions were recast as the Sea Serpent and Pirate's Maze. On July 22, 1958, POP opened to over 20,000 guests, and following Sunday outsold Disneyland with nearly 40,000 visitors. Guests entered the park through Neptune's courtyard, beneath giant seahorse sculptures, one of which is preserved in the History Museum. Other nautical attractions include the submarine diving bells and the sea circus, with shows of seals, porpoises, and even elephants. The Ocean Skyway transported guests across the pier in gondolas, while the Ocean Highway allowed visitors to ride miniature cars like those at Disneyland. At one point, 2 Ferris wheels were stacked on top of each other, creating the innovative Space Wheels. The International Promenade had shops and restaurants that promised a culinary trip around the world. Although Pacific Ocean Park saw success in its first year, attendance soon declined. The city of Santa Monica began redeveloping the neighborhood, impeding access to the park. In the 1960s, the park was a popular setting for TV shows and music videos and had a strong teenage following, but attendance never hit the opening highs, and it proved too expensive to maintain. Poor maintenance and outstanding debts compounded the problems, and the park closed in 1967 when the city filed suit over back taxes and rent. The abandoned, dilapidated park soon became a popular underground hangout spot. Local surfers noticed the great waves beneath the pier, which shaped the emerging Dogtown surf scene and the pioneering skateboarding of the Z-Boys. After several fires consumed parts of the pier, further deteriorating the site, the city demolished the pier in 1974. Although Pacific Ocean Park only operated briefly, it is fondly remembered by the locals who visited during the heyday as a theme park and underground hotspot.
And if I thank you so much to the History Museum, thank you to the Conservancy and their sponsors for this series. And I just wanted to, on a personal note, I was there during, on the beach adjoining Station 26 during one of the fires one night. And I also used to ride my bike down to the pier where I think it was $1.99 toward the end, and you could spend all day in the amusement park. And the marine park part of it was fantastic. And K-Surf Radio, Santa Monica's FM radio station, used to broadcast right at the entrance there. And that was our local radio station, KSRF. So Pacific Ocean Park was an integral part of the city for quite a while. Richard Orton, the narrator, is currently recovering from an accident that he had months ago, and he's in a rehab facility, hoping to return back to his apartment in Santa Monica very soon. And Richard, we wish you well and wish you better health in the future. Thank you so much.
I would now ask if any council members have any reports on travel since our last council meeting. Hearing none, we'll now move on to the consent calendar. All items will be considered and approved in one motion unless removed by a council member for discussion. In accordance with Charter Section 615, the adoption of all ordinances and resolutions shall be by reading of title only unless a council member present dissents. No public discussion is permitted on ordinances for second reading and adoption. And we have one request from Councilmember Zwick to pull 5D. Are there any other late pulls? Okay.
I move the consent calendar with the exception of 5D.
Second.
Councilmember De La Torre?
Yes.
Councilmember Torosis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Negrete?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Parra?
Yes.
Councilmember Zwick?
Yes.
And Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Item 5D, authorization to accept grant from the Office of Traffic Safety for the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program.
So we have Lieutenant Green here for your questions, council member.
Hi there. Good to see you, Mr. Green. Is there any report, or should I just dive in?
No, I'm just here to answer any questions you may have about the
Great.
RTS grant.
So I understand we've received this grant for a number of years. The staff report was rather thin. Can you detail how it was spent in the prior year?
Sure. So there's a variety of areas that the grant has us focus on. So in a kind of a overview way, the grant requires us to have checkpoints, DUI saturation patrol, a program called Know Your Limit, general traffic enforcement, distracted driving enforcement, motorcycle safety enforcement, pedestrian and bicycle safety enforcement. And then in this last grant, there was PCH speed enforcement related to the issues that we had seen in the last few years. So it gets a little more into detail. There's some educational components to it. where the officers go out and talk to mostly high school, sometimes middle school age kids. And then we have posting requirements about like the DUI checkpoints, timing requirements, and then also some educational material that we put out related to speed and different programs that they require us to send out.
So the intention is to spend it in the same fashion as last year, with the exception of the PCH component, or?
Correct. So the grant is very detailed in how we spend the funds. So when we put in for the grant, we put in for the request that we have, and then essentially what they do is they approve the grant or the proposed approval for the grant, and they outline the amount of funds and then the number of enforcement details that we do in that area. So just to kind of give you like a flavor of it, so there's DUI checkpoints and there's 4. So then they do a calculation and they give you allotted funds to do the 4 checkpoints. And then it kind of just goes down the list of all the things that I had just mentioned, like DUI saturation patrol, know your limit, general traffic enforcement. And then they allot different amounts to that. And then we process the grant in that way and do the number of enforcement details for that. So, for instance, the know your limit, there's like six times we go out, and the know your limit is just we take a PAS device, like the little device you blow into, and then when people are coming out of restaurants and stuff, we just go up to them. There is no enforcement section. They just blow into it, and then they can see at what level of intoxication they are. So it's just an education component for the grant. And then the checkpoints, we do 4, saturation patrols, we do 15. So OTS assigns us the number upon, of details that we do, and then we have to meet that requirement.
Got it. I'm curious especially about the section related to pedestrian and bicycle safety. I see on the website it just says pedestrian and bicycle safety. I'm not sure if it, if it always has to be enforcement or if it can also include education.
There is some education funds, but the OTS grant comes out of from the state level, comes out of the STEP program, which is State Traffic Enforcement Program. So all these different funds, unless they're directed to be educational funds, they're all for enforcement because they come out of the enforcement grant. I'm sure there's other grants out there related to traffic and roadway design and education and stuff like that, but that's just not what this particular grant's focus is.
Got it. I did have a question. I saw there was an action or an enforcement action, I guess, that was a part of this grant in the prior year, and there was some publicizing of stops and citations. I can't remember. I have the data from it. I don't know which one it was, but it indicated, 5 pedestrians were stopped, 0 citations were issued, 46 bicyclists were stopped, 35 citations were issued, 107 vehicles were stopped, 97 citations were issued. I think it was looking at stop signs. I'm not sure, but my question is, do you know what percentage of trips bicycles represent in the city of Santa Monica?
I don't know that, no.
I think it's around 6% of all trips that are made. So I was just curious as to why necessarily we were citing, over a third of the time we're citing bicyclists with these sort of interventions.
Right. So if you look at our, not to veer too far from the grant, but if you look at our the data from the serious injury accidents, about 60% of the time it's the car is at fault, and then 40% of the time it's either the pedestrian or the bicyclist that are at fault. So when we go out and do our enforcement, one, we're looking for violations of the law, which is the whole, the thrust of the grant. But when we do that, obviously, when we see violations that are safety-related, moving violations, like a bicycle running the stop sign or something like that, right, in this area of focus, which is, one of several, right, we do issue the citations to bicyclists at times. But just as a little background on that, from our pedestrian and bicycle safety operations, there was 437 citations issued, and of that 71 were issued to bicyclists. So it's trending under 20%, even when we're doing these focused efforts, around bicycle and pedestrian safety. less than 20% are going to bicycles and pedestrians. So it's significant portion, but it's definitely trailing far behind, the car
But
violations.
definitely still disproportionate to the amount of bicycles versus cars we have on our streets, for instance.
Sure, it could be looked at that way.
So, just out of curiosity, could we use this particular pedestrian and bicycle safety enforcement operations to, say, ticket cars that are parking in bike lanes?
No, this is focused on moving violations. So the parking violations is not the thrust, once again, it's not the thrust of this.
Even though it could be a safety issue, it has to be a moving
Well,
violation.
I'm sure there's some other grant or just general enforcement that could address those, and then obviously we have a robust.
I saw that San Francisco did a program where officers actually dressed up in funny costumes, attempted to cross crosswalks, and then pulled over vehicles that drove through the crosswalk while they attempted to do so. Could that be an effort that we could do with this funds?
Yeah, in fact, we already do that, minus the funny costume, but we do take officers out and have them cross in the crosswalks, and then if there's violations that we observe, we issue citations.
So that's something we do with this grant?
This particular grant, yes.
Okay, okay, it's good to know. And I saw, again, this could be another part of it, but it sounded like there was, and again, maybe you said this is different, it's through OTS, but maybe it's not through STEP. It mentioned bike education and offering training, helmets, bike lights, reflectors. That's not something they could do?
In this particular grant, there's no funding for that particular item, even though,
Could we apply for that if that was something we wanted to do?
of course, we could, if there was a grant available and apply for it, yeah, it's obviously available. But we do some of the education component at the schools, and we do talk about the safe routes for schools and things that'll help, kids be safe on the streets when they're commuting back and forth on bikes.
Got it. And does the department or the portion of the department that administers this program, do they consult at all with DOT about specifically the funds related to pedestrian and bicycle safety?
Well, we have our regular monthly meeting with DOT. Obviously, this particular grant is an enforcement grant, so if you look at the grant, there's not like a ton of wiggle room on what you can do with the funds, and the thrust is going out there. So we do have constant communication with DOT, but as far as communicating on how or what, DOT will give us, input up as far as where they're seeing violations, and then, we'll try to direct our enforcement in those areas within the confines of the grant.
Okay. And when you say the grant is very specific, I'm not sure if it was attached to our agenda. Let me see here. I read the staff report, but I think that's all that was there. Can we see can I be provided with the grant itself then in the specific language?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much. I guess I would want to just make special note that bicycles aren't responsible for killing anyone in accidents, as far as I know, in the city of Santa Monica or elsewhere, and I would love it if we focus our enforcement on the multi-ton vehicles that are killing people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to move that item?
I'm in the queue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Parra. I apologize.
That's okay. I just wanted to say thank you to the police department and to Officer Green for giving that thorough update, and I'd like to move the item.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Parra, seconded by Zwick.
Councilmember De La Torre?
Yes.
Councilmember Torrosis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Negrete?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Parra?
Yes.
Councilmember Zwick?
Yes.
And Mayor Brock.
Yes. That motion passes unanimously.
We'll now move on to item 6, public input on remaining agenda items only. Public comment is permitted on ordinances for introduction and first reading. No public discussion is permitted on ordinances for second reading and adoption. Public input for 12 items will be heard at the time when the public hearing is called. We have approximately 12 speakers on the list. 7 speakers on the list. I'm going to call the first 5 names to please line up by the podium. Maria Loya, Bernice Anafor, Brian O'Neill, Maricela Herrera, Mary Cornejo.
I believe that Brian and Mary spoke already.
Okay.
And Berenice donated her time to me.
Bernice did?
Berenice?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, Berenice, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yes.
then you'll have 4 minutes.
Yes.
You may proceed.
All right, thank you. Good evening, council members and city staff. They say if you repeat a lie long enough, people will begin to believe it as truth. That is what we experienced during this election. We witnessed Glenn Davis attempting to rewrite history by stating that she declared that she was part Mexican years before I filed the CVRA lawsuit. The fact is that Glenn Davis publicly claimed to be a genetic Latina after the CVRA lawsuit was filed, and when asked to submit her DNA test to the court as evidence, she refused. The entrenched establishment's campaign, backed by powerful interests and developer money, has shown they will stoop to unprecedented levels of falsehood and deceit to gain and maintain control. Behind the scenes, a web of influential power brokers is pulling the strings. This includes current council members Glenn Davis and Jesse Swick, former council members Ted Winter, Kevin McEwen, Judy Abdo, Denny Zane, who's also the leader of SMER. These figures, along with the SEPS PAC, have orchestrated a campaign that raises questions about our local election. Many of the endorsements the establishment slate touted on their flyers, like Streets for All, are actually just PACs with their own agendas. These aren't grassroots community organizations, but rather well-funded special interest groups pushing their own priorities. Even the Santa Monica Democratic Club's endorsement raises ethical concerns. Their president, John Katz, received more than $57,000 in payments from the Yes on Proposition 33 campaign, while having his club make endorsements that align with those payments. The coordinated smear campaign against Oscar de la Torre is particularly egregious. The Community for Excellent Public Schools, CEPS, in Santa Monica, which claims to champion diversity, equity, and inclusion, and oppose systemic oppression, orchestrated a targeted campaign against the only Mexican American on the Santa Monica City Council. This situation involves not just SEPS, but also school board member John Keene and Richard Tabilder and Jesuin, who clearly worked in coordination with SMER operatives. This raises serious questions about political ethics and the manipulation of local elections by influential behind-the-scenes players. On October 9 and 10, John Keene and Richard Tabilder and Jesuin donated to the SEPS PAC. The very next day, Keene published an unsubstantiated anti-Semitism accusation against De La Torre from 2019. Tabilder and Jesuin corroborated Keene's account just days later. By October 28, the SEPS PAC had sent a targeted mailer to Santa Monica's Jewish community spreading these unverified claims. This timeline suggests a coordinated effort to discredit De La Torre just before the election, raising serious ethical concerns. Furthermore, SEPS made a $5,000 contribution to Streets for All PAC. This PAC then paid a full-page ad in the Santa Monica Daily Press, repeating the false claims against De La Torre. The timing of these actions, coupled with the significant financial resources deployed, suggests a concerted effort to influence the election outcome. SEPS PAC alone spent more than $41,000 in a single reporting period attacking De La Torre. Voters now must question whether SEPS and SMER associated candidates truly represent the ethical leadership Santa Monica deserves. Or are they part of a system that prioritizes political power over genuine representation and fair play? This is what we experienced during this election. And I think it's important for SMER and SMER-endorsed candidates to take responsibility for the lies and the misinformation that was spread during this campaign, because ultimately they won based on lies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No clapping, please.
Next speaker is Maricela Herrera. Oh, okay. Mary Cornejo.
She spoke during public comment.
Esther? Zoe Montaner? Okay, that concludes public input on that item. We'll now move on to item 10A, ordinances. Public comment is permitted on ordinances for introduction and first reading. No public discussion is permitted on ordinances for second reading and adoption. In accordance with Charter Section 615, the adoption of all ordinances and resolutions shall be by reading of title only unless a council member present dissents. Item 10A, introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Municipal Code Section 4.65.030 and approval of second modification to agreement number 10605 for emergency medical transport and billing services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tom Clemmo, Deputy Chief for the Fire Department. Tonight, we've come before you with really two requests moving forward. Just for some context, Santa Monica Fire Department provides emergency response to approximately 17,500 calls. And of those calls, they result in about 8,200 transports of injured persons, sick persons to the hospital. And of those calls, about 60% are basic life support and the other 40% are advanced life support. Our current contractor is McCormick. They've been with us since 2018 providing this service. The current contract expires January 31st, 2025, and we went out for an RFP October 14th and it closed today. It may seem like there might be enough time to get this contract done, but we're fairly confident with the complexities associated with the ambulance business today and some of the requirements within the contract. We're going to go into a rather lengthy contract negotiation. And because of that, because of those complexities, we're requesting an extension of both the contract and the ordinance. Back in 2017, we requested a living wage exemption number 2548, and again in 2020 and again in 2022 to extend our exemption to the Santa Monica living wage. This is primarily governed by, and we found this with many ambulance companies, the ability of the ambulance companies to meet their bottom line because of the LA County ALS and BLS transportation rates. That rate is set by the county. The difference between the rate of the ALS and BLS fee is the fee that the fire department gets for those services. But the profit margin associated in the ambulance business is just too low to pay their folks a living wage in Santa Monica. You couple that with one of the requirements that we had in the RFP or the previous contract to have property within the city. We, as you recall, if you recall, 6 years ago, we didn't get any bidders on that particular RFP until we made some changes. And the change we had to make at that time was a living wage. Our current RFP removed the property requirement from the RFP, and we anticipate that that should change the landscape financially for ambulance providers, and hopefully we don't have to come back requesting a living wage exemption. This particular exemption we're asking to extend to January 31st of 2026, along with a contract, and in hopes that we can get this done sometime we hope in June or July, and we don't need the full year. So one, extend the term, and two, I'll be available to ask any questions that you have specific to the either the term of the contract or the living wage ordinance that we're requesting to extend. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Councilmember Terosas, you're up.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks for explaining the living wage history, because I was gonna, of course, ask about that. How many bidders or how many respondents responded to the RFP this time?
I have not taken a look. It closes today, I should know by tomorrow. Our estimation, based on a third-party vendor that we've been using to kind of help us navigate some of the complexity of this, is we anticipate 4 to 6 vendors to bid on it.
And I assume we did like appropriate outreach to
yes.
make sure that there's hopefully more than one bidder responding here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and you just stated that the living wage exemption is just for the one-year extension, and you're hoping to not have to have the living wage exemption for the future?
That's correct.
Is there anything that we can do within this industry? I mean, I just would love to know a little bit more about why this industry, the profit margins are so difficult. Is it insurance billing, or what's the situation?
I will tell you that this RFP is fraught with complexity, and I alluded to it earlier. We hired a third-party consultant to help us put together quite a bit of that RFP and review it. Several things are at play here. Number one is just the cost of the ambulance business itself. A lot of the transports they make, they don't see any profit at all. You know, there's a lot of bills that are not paid, period. So like much of healthcare, you may see a pretty substantial bill, but what actually gets paid is fairly low. That is certainly applicable to the ambulance market. We're also seeing some difficulties in just getting staff. Similar to what we've seen within the city, McCormick in this particular case has gone to pretty extensive ends to try to hire EMTs, period. Just the amount of folks that want to service as emergency medical technicians has declined over the past few years, so that influences it. There are billing complexities that we have seen. There's rate of return complexities that we have seen. And we have made similar adjustments within the RFP to try to address those for us as well. There is a fair amount of profit opportunity associated with the business, but that tends to only be realized when we're in much more control, which is this RFP is also going to give us that exact opportunity.
Got it, okay. And then in terms of like the insurance billing, I seem to read in the staff report that McCormick is billing the patients directly, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that like an advantageous model, do you feel like? No, okay, so is our I know this isn't about the forthcoming contract, but I assume we're making appropriate adjustments?
Absolutely. We've actually already engaged a third-party billing company that we're using now for fire prevention billing and have seen a significant increase in revenue because there's just a lot more metrics associated with the billing that we now can take a look at and make adjustments to our system to optimize the return.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any other questions. I just appreciate your thoughtfulness. And of course, if there's anything we can do not to be exempt from the living wage for the future, that would be great. Thanks.
Seeing no other questions, any comments? If not, we're ready to take a vote.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Item is moved by Parra, seconded by Terosis.
Councilmembers Wick,
Yes.
Councilmember Parr,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Negrete.
Yes.
Councilmember Terosis,
Yes.
Councilmember De La Torre.
Yes.
And Mayor Brock.
Yes, that item passes unanimously.
Item 12A, appeal of Landmark Commission decision to designate the Compass Rose located north of and adjacent to Runway 3 at Santa Monica Airport as a city landmark. I got it for you, Stephanie.
Great, thank you. Good evening, council members, staff, and members of the public. This is an appeal to Landmarks Commission designation of the Compass Rose located at the Santa Monica Airport. So our recommended action is to deny the appeal of the Landmarks Commission decision to designate the Compass Rose and approve the designation application. So we want to clarify that an appeal is really a limited question of whether or not the Compass Rose meets one or more of the landmarks criteria. As it turns out, the appellant is actually in favor of the landmarks designation, and we want to also clarify that the appeal does not impact the current operations or future closure of the Santa Monica Airport. Here are the landmarks designation criteria. The Landmarks Commission designated the Compass Rose under Criteria 1 because it exemplifies, symbolizes, or manifests elements of the cultural, social, economic, political, or architectural history of the city. Here is a little bit of information about the Compass Rose. The Compass Rose is an air marking. It's a diagram of a circular magnetic compass
It has been used as an early aviation navigation tool. It has been assumed to be originally painted in 1929 on the tarmac adjacent to runways 21 and 22. It was relocated in 1989 and repainted in 2010 by the LA 99s. And here is a little bit of information, background information about the airport. As you know, it's 227 acres. That's owned and operated by the city. Before it was an airport, it was barley fields. World War I planes landed there. There were many air shows there, and it has an important history in women's aviation. There was an application, and it was designated by the Landmarks Commission on September 9th, 2019. And Ostachay and Associates provided a complete assessment of the Compass Rose based on the landmarks criteria. Just a word about the National Park Service guidelines. That provides us guidance, and the Landmarks Commission uses these Park Service guidelines as well as past practice so that we can make sure that all of our decisions are based on sound professional practice. And as I mentioned, the Landmarks Commission found that the Compass Rose is eligible under Criterion 1 as it symbolizes the importance history of women's aviation in Santa Monica, and it also noted its distinctive Compass Rose designed by William Fritchie. The designation also identifies several character-defining features. Its location near or adjacent to the airfield, runway, taxiway, or other airport-associated feature. The landmark designation statement of official action was very clear that because the Compass Rose has been previously moved, it can be moved in the future, and that's also something that the council may want to opine on. It also noticed its size and distinct shape. Its material, that it's FAA-approved reflective paint, and as a painted item, it would have to be repainted. And its block font type of the 99 logo and its logo arrangement. So the appeal statement, the original appeal statement identified 3 items, that it meets only 1 of 6 landmark criteria, a painted feature that has changed location, and is inconsistent in design with the 99's trademark 16-point symbol. The appeal also contends a designation may not be appropriate since the Compass Rose is at the airport, and the appellant noted concerns about the obligations of the city under the city's consent decree to close the airport. As I mentioned, the landmark designation is separate and apart from that consent decree and does not impact the operation of the airport or the ability of the city to close the airport in the future. As I mentioned, there's no basis in the consent decree to not designate the Compass Rose. And in its deliberation of the appeal, the City Council is limited to the jurisdiction of the Landmarks Commission under the Landmarks and Historic District Ordinance. So the council is deciding solely whether or not the Compass Rose meets 1 or more of the designation criteria. In the landmarks ordinance, any item that's considered for designation only needs to meet 1 or more of the criteria. This was found to meet criteria 1, as it symbolizes the history of women's aviation. The appellant states that the Compass Rose is a painted feature, non-original, and has been repainted. The Landmarks Commission also recognized that the Compass Rose is a painted feature, that it symbolizes women's aviation history. As a painted feature, it would require repainting, and the statement of official action identified the type of paint that would need to be used for that feature. And since it has been relocated in the past, it can be moved from its current location. The appellant also states that the Compass Rose has a particular configuration that is separate and distinct from the 99's trademark. And the symbol was painted by members of the 99's, and the organization supports the designation. So that seemingly has no bearing on the designation of the Compass Rose. As I mentioned, the Landmarks Commission identified that the Compass Rose meets Criterion 1 as a symbol of women's aviation, and there are a number of events in women's aviation that occurred at the Santa Monica Airport. There are references to a Compass Rose since 1929, and the Compass Rose is an important symbolic feature, and it's not in its historic location. As I mentioned, it can be relocated according to the Landmarks Commission's Statement of Official Action and in the draft Statement of Official Action that you have before you. So the ordinance grants the City Council on appeal the power to designate a landmark parcel. The Landmarks Commission designated a landmark parcel for protection of the Compass Rose so that it would be essentially a 3-foot perimeter around the Compass Rose. So staff recommends the City Council also adopt such a landmark parcel. And the recommended action is to deny the appeal of the Landmarks Commission decision to designate the Compass Rose and approve designation of the Compass Rose as a city landmark and include a landmark parcel. Thank you very much.
Mayor, could I jump in,
Member
please?
Zwick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to remind the council that this is a quasi-judicial matter, and so the council's decision can be based only upon the evidence and issues in the official record, and we need to start with any ex parte disclosures. Any contacts you've had with people about this matter outside the hearing?
Okay. Has anyone had any
Wait,
ex
sorry, can I
parte?
just clarify what that means? Like, if we all got an email, though, and we didn't respond to it?
No, if it's in the official record, like it's made part of the record, that's fine.
Correct.
But if you had a discussion with somebody or you visited the site and looked at it yourself, you need to
Got it.
disclose that.
I took a phone call with Eve.
Anyone else? I think that's it. Councilmember Zwick.
Thank you for that report. Just wanted to clarify a few things based on your report. So the Rose, as it exists now, is not in its original location. It's been repainted, and as such, the Landmarks Committee said that while they recommended designation, it could be moved or repainted again in the future. Is that
Correct.
what they said? Okay. And it's 50 feet in diameter?
Let me
pretty
put
big.
that in front of me.
Yeah.
Yes, approximately 50 feet in circumference, a diameter of 50 feet and a circumference of approximately 160.
Okay. And then, did you mention something that you said the appellant is in favor of the designation?
Right.
At the last meeting, there was some suggestion that this might be dropped, but it wasn't. Is there anything that we can say to
The appeal
that?
hasn't been withdrawn. The appellant wanted to continue with the appeal hearing.
Okay, so on what basis are they in favor of it?
They support the designation, but they had
Thanks.
clarifying questions that had more to do with the city's ability to operate and close the airport.
Got it. And City Attorney Sloan, I mean, I think you have it in the readings that we have, but can you opine on that at all? On whether it has any bearing on the city's ability to either operate or close the airport?
No, it will have no bearing one way or the other, whether we can operate or close the airport.
And this is on city land, I assume?
I'm sorry?
This is on city land, I assume?
Definitely.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I just have a quick question.
Councilmember Terosas.
So, you just clarified that it wouldn't affect the airport's operations, but has there been any sort of significant public input on preserving the Compass Rose as a symbol of women in aviation?
We had public input in the, at the original Landmarks Commission hearing, and there was strong support for designation.
Great. I mean, I don't know if we're on comments, but it's pretty clear to me that the criteria one related to cultural and historic significance is met, and therefore, if we're on appeal, we absolutely should uphold the underlying staff
Counsel,
recommendation.
I'm sorry. You shouldn't be making statements in support or against it. This is time for questions until after you hear from the public.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that we were waiting to hear from the public. My apologies. I retract that statement.
Thank you. There's public comment?
No, actually, first, we need to hear from the appellant and the applicant. So first, the appellant, please. Okay. Now what?
So, City Clerk, the record is reflecting that the appellant did not appear to speak.
Okay. Then next, we'll hear from the applicant. And if you could just state for the record your name, please.
Olivia White. Do you receive our slides?
I think we did, yes.
Thank you.
And you have 10 minutes. You can split it up for, how much time do you want to save for rebuttals?
I'd like to save 3 minutes for rebuttal, please.
Minutes? Okay.
Although I don't know who I'm rebutting. But.
Okay. Is this it?
Yes.
Okay. And just give me 1 second to start the timer. Okay, you may proceed.
Good evening, Mayor Brock, Mayor Pro Tem Negrete, council members. My name is Olivia White. I'm a consultant to the Los Angeles chapter of the 99s, as well as to Chattel Inc. Historic Preservation Consultants. I prepared the nomination application for the Landmark Compass Rose in 2019 and presented it to the Landmarks Commission at the time. So first, I just want to reiterate what makes the Compass Rose so special and why it was brought to the Landmarks Commission to be designated. The Compass Rose is significant for being the logo of the 99s Association of Women Pilots. This group was founded based on the camaraderie that women pilots experienced at the first Women's Air Derby that took off from Santa Monica Airport in 1929. 30,000 spectators gathered at Cloverfield to watch these women take off. This was a history-making event at the time because women pilots were not allowed to participate in air derbies with men. Men had been hosting air derbies since 1920. At the time, women pilots experienced significant discrimination. They were called derogatory names like flying flappers. They were not given many jobs in aviation despite their skills and talent, and they were not accepted into the social circles of male pilots. The 99s were founded 3 months after the Air Derby when a call was put out to all women pilots at the time. And their name comes from the total number of charter members. So now I just want to talk through each of the points made by the appellant in the original appeal. First is that the Landmarks Commission doesn't have the authority to determine any use of the airport per Measure LC. While Measure LC is found in Santa Monica City Charter, Section 640, and gives City Council full authority over the airport without voter approval, Santa Monica Municipal Code 9.5660 talks about the powers of the Landmarks Commission, which is to designate structures of merits and landmarks, and to safeguard the city's historic, aesthetic, and cultural heritage. Measure LC, as you've heard, does not override 9.5660, and the two are just simply not in conflict with each other. Landmarks commissioners are appointed by City Council and entrusted to review landmark nominations and make decisions based on their merits. The Landmarks Commission is fully within their authority to designate a landmark, including on city-owned property. Second point of the appeal is that designation of a landmark at Santa Monica Airport should be fully considered. The decision, as you've heard, whether to designate the landmark Compass Rose underwent thorough consideration based on the criterion delineated 9.56100. And as they always do, the Landmarks Commission fully followed the process laid out in Code Section 9.56120, designation procedure. The appellant is asking council to institute additional discriminatory requirements applicable only to resources that exist at the airport. But nowhere in the landmarks ordinance does it say that airport resources require this additional level of scrutiny. Additionally, the designation of the landmark Compass Rose did not set a new precedent, as there was already a landmark at the airport when it was designated. The designation of the rotating beacon tower and of the Compass Rose have not impacted operations at the airport, have not impacted future planning for the airport land, and simply will not impact future changes to the property. The appellant also noted that the landmark Compass Rose has 12 points instead of the 16 that are the trademark logo of the 99s. The reason it has 4 fewer points is that the landmark Compass Rose is more than just a logo or a symbol. It has practical uses for pilots who use it to calibrate airplane compasses. They do so by taxiing their plane onto it, a process called swinging a compass rose. The FAA specifies that a 12-point compass rose is to be painted in order to do this. So the landmark compass rose was painted in guidance with FAA regulations, as well as regulations published by the 99s. In 2019, the Landmarks Commission knew this, understood this, and decided to designate it with this information. Appeal point number 4 is that the compass rose is not in its historic location. While a property actually does not need to be in its historic location to be designated, the compass rose is in fact in its historic location. I want to note that at the time of the designation, at the time we filed the application, we weren't sure exactly when it had been painted, and we knew that some versions of a generic compass rose, let's say, was painted at the airport throughout its history. The compass rose that you see today that was designated, the landmark, the 99's compass rose, was painted in 1985. These photos and this fact was brought to the Landmarks Commission, and you'll see in the statement of official action that 1985 is when the compass rose was painted, and it remains in its historic location today. Even if it weren't in its historic location, though, designating landmarks that have been relocated is not uncommon practice, particularly not in Santa Monica, where you can see all of these landmarks were moved prior to their designation. There's also a lot of historic landmarks that have moved more than once in their lifetime. Appeal point number 5, the appellant claims that the compass rose would be questionable to maintain and protect. I want to note that the LA 99s have been the stewards of the Compass Rose since 1985, and they've been responsible for the upkeep and the painting, and whatever future the landmark Compass Rose has, they're going to be there. They want to ensure that it's protected. This includes the incorporation of the landmark Compass Rose into a future park, or whatever project takes place. And we expect how the Compass Rose will be treated will be studied in environmental documents in the future that will come before you. But again, that's not what is before you tonight. So to close, Santa Monica has a really rich collection of historic resources that tell the story of this amazing place. The landmark Compass Rose is one of them. It tells the story of the amazing 20 women pilots who took off from Santa Monica Airport in 1929, and of the 99s, the organization founded as a result of it. The Air Derby is one of the most significant events, not just in the history of women in aviation, but in aviation, period. Nationally, only a small percent of historic resources are designated for their association with women's history, and Santa Monica should be proud at making a dent in that statistic. Now, the airport has changed a lot since 1929, and we know it's going to change again.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Your 7 minutes are up. Did you?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll now open the floor for the public hearing. We have 11 speakers. I'll call the first 6 names. Jerry Rubin, Jen Butler, Jonna Linde, Mark Smith, and Don Bender, and Tim Cashin.
Thank you, Jerry Rubin, Honorable Mayor, Council Member, City Staff. Well, I don't like to overturn the decisions of our dedicated Landmarks Commission. I feel this would be an excellent educational artwork in the middle of the great park, which could be created. And it would not diminish the dedication of the women that this represents by closing the airport and creating a park. So I don't understand why we're even here. I thought if the appellant wanted to take away his appeal, why we all have to hear it, but I guess that's just a legal matter. It seems that if anything, got to get some good cupcakes here by the good people that came to support this. I had the lemon cupcake, well, thank you, it was delicious. I think this is a beautiful artwork, and I think it is so amazing. So I urge you to deny the appeal, and thank you so much in every way. I guess I'm glad it's being heard today, even though I don't understand why it would be if you don't want to continue your appeal, that it would still take up all the time of the council. Anyhow, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Before I proceed with the list, we do have two members of the Landmarks Commission that need to speak first. Roger Genzer and Dolores Sloan. And Mr. Genzer, you get 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of the outgoing council members for your service to the city. I don't know how many people said that earlier, but I wasn't here, so I wanted to do that. Mayor Brock and members of the council, my name is Roger Genser, and I'm representing the Landmarks Commission regarding the appeal of the designation of the historic Compass Rose. Today is November 11th, 2024. And it is fitting that exactly 5 years ago, November 11th, 2019, as then chair of the Landmarks Commission, I proudly signed the Statement of Official Action that designated the Compass Rose as a Santa Monica landmark, and that's in your packet. So it's exactly 5 years. Coincidentally, is also the 100-year anniversary of the first round-the-world flight from Clover Field. I urge you to support the staff recommendation and deny the appeal. The staff report and the massive historical documentation by the applicant and reinforced by the city's own consultant overwhelmingly supports this designation. In 2019, nearly a score of supporters from the public came to the Landmarks Commission, most of whom were proud women pilots. They were accompanied by a petition of about 80 99s. A few of the 2019 speakers were around in those early seminal days of aviation history. I understand, unfortunately, a few of them have passed away waiting for this moment. And I urge you to approve the STO as written in the staff report. I also wanted to emphasize that the designation stipulated the landmarks surrounding the landmark parcel surrounding the Compass Rose and the 3-foot radius around it, that this protects it. It is not unlike the area around Paul Conrad's now iconic landmark chain reaction sculpture. The Santa Monica Cloverfield Airport has played a pivotal part in the history of aviation in our city. The first national Women's Air Cross Derby of 1929, which started at the Santa Monica Airport, became a turning point for women in aviation. From converted barley fields in 1916 to a dirt field, to a dirt landing strip, to the Douglas Jets, there's a long history at the airport. Originally named for Gregory Clover in 1918, Amelia Earhart used this airport. The Douglas DC-1 flew out in 1933. The airport beacon was built in 1928 and moved to Clover Field in 1952 and landmarked in 1988. Barker Hangar is the last remaining original hangar. The community of Sunset Park, now on the southern side of the airport, owes much of its development to housing the airport workers and the massive expansion of the west side population after World War II. When the future of the airport land is finally determined, its long history needs to be recognized. There are only 2 designated landmarks. One is the Beacon Tower, and the other is the Compass Rose, a small dot that is lost in the 227 acres that now compose the airport. But that historic dot has guided flyers in some form for many decades and is an important symbol of the many brave pioneering women. 5 years after the designation is more than appropriate to document and commemorate those brave pioneering women and men who defied gravity in the early 20th century in Santa Monica. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dolores Sloan?
Good evening. You've heard very eloquently from others before me about the designation and the fact that it emphasizes and symbolizes the cultural, social, economic, political, or architectural history of the city, that there are elements that pertain to that. So I'm going to just be very simple with my 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm going to say what this has to do with Santa Monica. Why here? Well, first of all, because it is a symbol, it is a message to all of the females who live here of what can be attained against great odds, because the Compass Rose is way advanced story that began very early when women were ridiculed if they flew or tried to fly. And now we just take it for granted. So I'm seeing this as an inspiration in a great park that we're going to have. There's going to be this Compass Rose, which has something to do with our history. And girls like my granddaughter, who goes to Samo High, will be inspired when they learn about the women who manifested this, who maintain it, and who come from a direct lineage of inheritance. And so that's what I'm going to add tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to call 5 names again. Jen Butler, Jonna Lindy, Mark Smith, Don Bender, and Tim Cashin. You may proceed.
Hi, I'm Jen Butler, and I'm in full support of the Compass Rose. A little bit about me and why it's so important. First, moving here from the East Coast over 10
You move
years.
slightly closer to the microphone.
Oh, you can't hear me? Should I start over?
No, yeah, you can start over if you can start over if you want.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jennifer Butler, and I'm in full support of the Compass Rose. A little bit about me and why it's so important. First, moving here from the East Coast over 10 years ago, it was hard meeting people and finding people to connect with. Of course, I was missing my family and friends, and having grown up with a father who was in the military, the FAA, and also still a pilot, he urged me to go to a 99s meeting. I went and was so happy to have found my people, a group of women who are passionate about flying and all that it stood for. So I started taking flying lessons and had an amazing support system with all of these great women. You are here today. You see, getting my license took a while, as I had a stroke when I was 5, so I had made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I did it, learning how to do everything with just one side of my body. Honestly, I've been soaring ever since. When I wasn't flying in my spare time, I was doing things with the 99s, painting Compass Roses throughout California, flying in historic air races, and feeling that great sense of community. I urge you to leave this historic landmark for all the people who have been through certain things and not achieved them. To me, it's a symbol for everything is possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jonna Lindy?
Carolyn Horton was one of the LA 99s who painted the Compass Rose at Santa Monica Airport in 1985. Carolyn desperately wanted to attend this hearing, but unfortunately she passed away during the 5 years this hearing has been pending. I'm going to read a letter Carolyn wrote before her death in anticipation of this day. My name is Carolyn Horton. I am a 99, and I'm here to support the nomination of the Compass Rose at the Santa Monica Airport. I served as the chair of the Los Angeles Palms 99s based at Santa Monica Airport from 2000 to 2001. I also served as airmarking chair for the Southwest section of the 99s for 6 years. But the accomplishment I am most proud of in all my years as a 99 is painting the very first 99's Compass Rose over Father's Day weekend in 1985 at Santa Monica Airport. I'd like to share with you a little bit about what the experience was like. In March or perhaps April, I guess it was June of 1985, the LA 99s met with the airport director, who at the time was Henry Hank Dittmar. Hank met with us because he wanted the 99s to paint a Compass Rose at Santa Monica Airport. The year before, the airport entered into some agreement, but the airport was going to have to do a lot of work because of the agreement. One of the items of work was going to be done was the Douglas Compass Rose that had been over by runway 21 was going to be removed. Because we did a lot of earmarking, Hank came to our monthly LA 99's chapter meeting and brought with him the plans about where things would be located after work was done. During the meeting, we looked over plans and talked about where the Compass Rose should be painted. Hank told us that a lot of the operations were going to be to the north side of the field, which is the side of the field that the Douglas Compass Rose had been on, which is now the business park. You see, in order for the Compass Rose to work properly, it needs to be located away from buildings with metal and away from movement areas where planes are moving because the electronics in the airplane will interfere with the magnetic readings of the compass. It also can't be on a runway because there is often metal in runway material for reinforcement purposes. Santa Monica has a specially reinforced runway, which makes it one of the few airports that the President of the United States can land on at Santa Monica Airport. After we looked over the airport plans with Hank, we talked about it for a bit, and we all agreed the best place for the Compass Rose would be painted would be the northeast side of the field near runway 3.
Thank you very much.
Mark Smith? Oh, she does? I'm sorry, I did not know that. Okay.
We agreed the painting the Compass Rose near runway 3 would be the calmest area for the Compass Rose to be located so other aircraft or buildings wouldn't interfere with it, and I remember talking about why that would be the best place. Because runway 21 is the runway that we use almost all of the time, runway 3 would be the runway with the least amount of arriving or departing traffic and a better location for the 99s. The wash racks were nearby, so it'd be easy for pilots who were doing routine care for their planes to also swing by the compass for a compass calibration check, and there would be a taxiway to get to the Compass Rose. At some airports, you have to build a designated taxiway to get the Compass Rose because they are so out of the way, but the location we selected by runway 3 wouldn't require another taxiway be built. We agreed that the painting would take place on Father's Day weekend of 1985 because none of us were fathers, so we were all able to do the air marking on Father's Day weekend. As a survey had been recently done by the airport, so it would be better for the engineer to come back out sooner rather than later to mark the cardinal points while the survey was still fresh. It took us 2 days to do the painting. Cox Paint in Santa Monica donated the paint, and the airport donated the brushes, rollers, and paint roller handles. My sister 99's Ricky Barton, Flan Blair, Lillian Camden, Janet Lewis, Claire Walters, me, and a few 49.5ers were the volunteers who painted the very first 99's Compass Rose at Santa Monica Airport in June 1985. When we painted the Compass Rose that Father's Day weekend of 1985, it meant a lot to a lot of people. It was the first time we had painted a Compass Rose at Santa Monica Airport. A big part and pride in being a 99 is a tradition of air marking. Because the 99's air marking manual had just come out about a month or so before, we got to have some bragging rights after we painted our Compass Rose at Santa Monica Airport. Other than meaning a lot to us, it has also meant a lot to the other people at the airport. There have been a lot of disputes about the airport at the time. The 99s, we don't get involved in politics of airport fights, but painting the Compass Rose over Father's Day weekend reminded our community of the importance of celebrating our history, and painting that 99's Compass Rose over Father's Day weekend seemed to allow a good number of folks to take a deep breath and remind ourselves the significant history that Santa Monica Airport has played for women in aviation. It is where women in aviation was born, and we mustn't forget.
Thank you very much.
Dawn Bender? And Ms. Bender, are you donating time, or is someone donating time?
Someone is donating their time.
Is it Tim Cashin? Is he here? Okay, perfect. Okay, so you'll have 4 minutes.
My name is Dawn Bender, and I stand here today to support the Compass Rose. As I link arms with the community of women as a 99, my participation in aviation attempts to reach across the boundaries set by my gender, a reality of the battle to break gender barriers in the footsteps of Amelia Earhart herself. The history alone of the Compass Rose empowers me to be whatever my heart asks me to be, and I will not stop before I inspire my 4 young daughters to do the same in their lives, to aim for literally the moon or presidency, whatever it may be. So boys in the playground that tell them, you can't fly, girls don't fly, she can say, of course I can, my mother flies. My girls look to me for a reference of how to become anything they want to be. I look to the 99s, and I look to the Compass Rose. I look to Amelia Earhart. As this Compass Rose reaches through history, I can hear Amelia Earhart herself say, the most difficult thing is the decision to act, the rest is tenacity. And as I show up today, Amelia's fortitude extends through this Compass Rose. The impact of it has on me, will pass on to my children, to my daughters, and hopefully their daughters, and the legacy beyond our lifetimes.
the Compass Rose has the authority to impact generations to come. And I have been discounted way too many times in many industries for being a woman. And I fought to be a pastoral voice in broken communities and to be a lighting technician or a gaffer or a cinematographer in the film industry. And aviation really has been no exception. It's still a battle that I face today. And as my 4 daughters dream their young dreams, I fight for inspiration around them. The Compass Rose is a breath of courage. It is an inspiration in the hearts of girls who dream young dreams. And as I stand here today, it cultivates an opportunity for us to hear Amelia and stand with the original 99s, the women that this Compass Rose represents, and be one of the women it stands for today. From the ground, in the air, I urge you today, recall your young dreams, the obstacles you've overcome, the things that have encouraged you, the things that have inspired you to press on in your dreams. Consider the next generation. May whatever courage originates in our children and their youthful dreams be holstered by a courage that transcends time and place. Through what this Compass Rose represents, the courage of Amelia Earhart herself, and the first women to fly the air race in 1929, that's the same courage that I hope to take with me every day of my life. I hope to take with me on every flight that I fly, and someday when I fly my first air race, and when I watch my daughters fly their first air race. But mostly, I'm here today for my daughters and the next daughters. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to call the last names on the list: Eve Lopez, Connie Schur, and Kangwai Wong. Eve Lopez?
I'm Connie Schur. I don't know well. Excuse my voice. I'm Connie Schur, and I was a member of the 99 starting in 1984. I also have been the past trustee of the 99's Museum of Women Pilots. Throughout history, women have faced barriers to achieving recognition for their availability and contributions to aviation. Today, we are here to request your support in recognizing and preserving one of Santa Monica's most significant yet underappreciated landmarks, the Compass Rose. The Compass Rose was painted by a member of the several members of the Los Angeles 99s, the esteemed women aviators organization that took flight after the completion of the very first women's air race that left from Santa Monica in 1929 and landed in Cleveland, Ohio. It holds a special connection to Santa Monica's aviation legacy. The Compass Rose does not only display this orientation of the cardinal directions, but it is also a reminder of the pioneering women who helped shape the course of aviation history, including the legendary Louise Thaden, Pancho Barnes, Bobby Trout, and the first president of the 99s, which was Amelia Earhart. Unfortunately, the contributions of these brave women are not as widely acknowledged as they should be. By designating the Compass Rose as a Santa Monica landmark, we will not only honor the memory of Earhart and other female aviators, but we will also correct an oversight in the city's historical narrative. The Compass Rose is more than a compass and more than an artistic creation. It is an integral part of our community's legacy, deserving of recognition and preservation. Landmark status will ensure that future generations understand the pivotal role women have played in shaping Santa Monica's identity and the broader history.
Thank you very much.
Eve Lopez?
Good evening. My name is Eve Lopez. I am a commercial pilot, a flight instructor. I'm also an attorney and a resident here at Santa Monica. But the title that I am most proud of is I am the chair of the Los Angeles 99s based at Santa Monica Airport, where we have been based for nearly 100 years. Santa Monica and the Compass Rose, as everybody has said, it is more than just a painting on the concrete. This is my tribe. You have heard from a few of them, but our history is more than just what happened in 1929. For those who have not read the books or seen the movies about the 1929 Air Derby. It's sexy. Let me just say, it's a sexy story. Sabotage, death. It couldn't be more of a Hollywood movie. And in it was born something that women didn't have. Women pilots were so excluded. We were made fun of. We were demoralized. We were told there's another empty kitchen. And unfortunately today, only 6% of all pilots are women. We have a lot of work to do. And as a flight instructor, Santa Monica is one of the only places I can take my student pilots and I can say, here, this has a direct lineage to women in aviation and the immense contribution that we have given. And I can tell my students that if those women in 1929, with their rickety old instruments, with no GPS, no navigation, could navigate and land cross country, so can you. And that's exactly what this Compass Rose stands for. So please, let this be the beginning of a great discussion, not the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kangwai Wang?
Hi, I'm Kwang Wei, a Santa Monica business owner, Angel Flight Command pilot, and engineer. I attended the very educational Douglas Day event on September 22nd, celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the first flight around the world. Started and ended in Santa Monica on September 23rd, 1924. I'd like to say that I'm in favor of preserving and keeping this landmark and the protection space around it. To quote, in 2019, the Santa Monica Landmark Commission designated the Compass Rose a landmark, saying that to memorialize the National Women's Air Derby of 1929, which was the first sanctioned air race for women in the world. In making its decision, the commission found that the painted diagram exemplifies, symbolizes, or manifests elements of the cultural, social, economic, political, or architectural history of the city. I totally agree with that. For me, I think it's a significant tribute to the history of almost 100 years of women in aviation right here in Santa Monica, and it's a monument to encouraging kids to pursue a potential future career in aviation, especially for girls who are usually underrepresented in the aviation community. The Compass Rose is an embodiment of the spirit of Amelia Earhart, and for that reason, I'm strongly in favor of preserving and protecting this landmark, and let's be allies to our women in aviation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes the public hearing. We'll now hear from the applicant again. And Ms. White, you have 3 minutes reserved.
Thank you. I just want to thank you all again, and I hope that after everything you've heard tonight, we ask that you please deny the appeal and uphold the decision of the Landmarks Commission. And thank you very much.
Okay, Councilmember Terosas?
Okay, I'll get back to what I was saying before, but I just wanted to thank all of you for coming and providing such moving and beautiful testimony, and just would say I know we're here to decide this on appeal and there's a legal standard, but thank you. I'm ready to move the staff recommendation and to deny the appeal.
Moved by Terosas, seconded by Para.
Councilmember Zwick?
Yes.
Councilmember Parr?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Negrete?
Yes.
Councilmember Terosas?
Yes.
Councilmember De La Torre?
Very proudly, yes.
And Mayor Brock?
Yes, and I still want to know where your first president of the 99ers is located now.
Can we clap them?
Yeah. Okay. Item 6, we're now moving on to the council member discussion items. Accept appointments to boards, commissions, and other bodies, all council member discussion or 16 items.
On your way out, can we have it quiet so we can move on? Thank you so much for being here.
16 items on the agenda shall be considered as one item and may be approved by a single vote. Council members may request to have individual matters removed for separate consideration. Item 16A, recommendation to accept Maxine Koza's resignation from the Human Services Commission and authorize the city clerk to publish the vacancy.
Well, are we doing these all together, or?
Can we just, I'd like to move them.
Appointments are separate.
Huh?
Well, it's not really an appointment, it's a
It's an acceptance of
resignation.
resignation.
Right, the same thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I move we accept the resignation with gratitude.
No.
Voice vote?
Moved by Councilmember Davis and seconded by Councilmember Terosas.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what about the rest? Do you want to?
The rest you now treat like the consent calendar, so you approve it as one unless anybody wants to pull something.
I move that we approve 16B. I move that we approve 16B, 16C, and 16F, because D and E have monetary amounts associated with them, it appears.
You can still vote on them all at once, you just have to have a roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Just like on consent.
I mean, I move the consent calendar.
Yeah.
I move all the 16 items minus 16A, so B through F.
Okay.
Now, Councilmember Delatorre, you wanted F kept separately?
Yes.
Okay. Can we amend that to move
Sure.
all through E?
Yeah,
That was Councilmember Terosas.
B through E.
No, B through F. Oh,
B through E.
That's correct, yeah.
16, B
Second.
through F, E. I'm even confused.
Okay, Councilmember Zwick,
Yes.
Councilmember Parr,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Negrete,
Yes.
Councilmember Terosas,
Yes.
Councilmember Delatorre,
Yes.
and Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Item 16F, request of Councilman Delatorre that the city attorney and city manager return to council with an amendment to the council rules to address council member decorum on the dais so that council members agree to treat one another respectfully and professionally.
Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I wanted to bring this item forward because the last meeting, October 22nd, there were various allegations made, and I wanted to correct the historic record. And I think it's important also for us to, remind ourselves in terms of the decorum, the responsibility that we have towards each other to not utilize these meetings, as an opportunity to launch political attacks. That has happened a couple of times, on this dais. But it was way egregious in the last council meeting, and I think it's not a good use of a council meeting to do that. So I wanted to, bring that forward. But more importantly, to clarify the record, some of the things that were said were very hurtful. And I think it's appropriate for us to bring some issues forward to clarify the record. I just want to, first of all, address Councilwoman Gleam Davis for the allegations that she made. At the meeting, there were some things that you said publicly, and I think it's an attempt at rewriting history. I think one of the speakers mentioned that. You said you somehow remembered a meeting that we had at Lattice Restaurant, at a Mexican restaurant. I don't recall ever having that meeting, but more importantly than the meeting was what you attempted to do on October 22nd is to somehow, you said you met with me and you told me that you had Latina or Latino blood or Mexican blood, not sure, what racial group or ethnic group you want to identify with at the time. But somehow that excuses your behavior or softens the egregiousness of what you did. And let me tell you what you did so that everybody here understands what happened. You claimed to identify with a group that has been historically marginalized in our society. You claim to be Latina or Mexican in order to
Mayor, point of order.
Keep that group, I'm speaking.
Yeah, I have a point of order. What does this have to do with council member decorum on the dais?
Because that's what happened at the October 22nd meeting. And so I just want to know specifically what happened in the meeting. So I'm speaking right now to the.
I'm asking the mayor.
To the
Point of order. What does this have to do with council member decorum from the dais? He's talking about a claim made not on the dais.
No, she made it on the dais. She said.
Move to let our city attorney answer.
Council, Mayor, when a point of order is raised, then the mayor may make a ruling based upon the request and the point of order. If you need assistance, I can help. But yes, the comments from the council should be related to the item on the agenda. I suppose it's fair to talk about examples of why the item is being brought forward, but I think it would be limited to that.
This is a reference to a claim that was made.
That's an example. I'm
at
clarifying.
a meal at Laura's. I don't understand.
Well, here's what it is. So Councilwoman Glean Davis
Hold on 1
stated,
minute.
yeah.
Councilmember Zwick has just asked me a question.
Okay.
I would tend to agree with you, Mr. Zwick, but this is evidently a longstanding thing. And while I don't want this to degenerate again, and I will stop it if it starts to degenerate, because what we don't want are council member fights on the dais. I mentioned this during the last chaotic, catastrophic attempt at a meeting, that I was upset. I was really upset because I thought as I mentioned that meeting, the poster that talks about civility was completely violated. Mr. Delatorre, I would like you to not go into specifics. If you have a general discussion that you wish to have and a proposal, I think that would be fine. But we're going down to the he said, she said, and battle royale, which I don't want to tolerate during this meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Delatorre.
I just want to correct what Ms. Glean Davis said in the October 22nd meeting, and that's the purpose of this. So I just want to say this, that you claimed in court, just for the record, so that we are all being transparent and honest here, you claimed for the court that you were a genetic Latina in order to thwart Latino voting rights, to thwart the historically marginalized groups' attempt to have a seat at the table with district elections. And so when you became mayor, you never took pride in being the first Latina mayor. Like, why, if you claim to be a genetic Latina, how come you never have said, I'm the first Latina mayor in the city's history? Can you answer that, please?
No, she can't answer that. It's your time. We're not having a Q&A.
Okay.
If she wants to put her hand up to answer afterwards, she can. I would prefer that she not.
Okay, so just want to make it very clear that claiming to be Latina based on a DNA test, I think the judge, Yvette Palazuelos, said it best when she in court said, culture is an experience.
I think we're going, council member, we're off the rails again.
Okay,
I know what you're trying to do, but you're really, at this point, sir, you're off the rails.
Okay.
Try and get it back to the item, that's the 16 item, talks about whatever you're going to do and propose, and you can do something in generalities. Where you're attacking another council person is exactly the opposite of civility.
I'm not attacking the other council person. I'm just saying factually what has occurred for the record. So days afterwards, you sent out a text message. Brian O'Neill talked about it today, where you sent out a text message as a city councilwoman here. You know, you're still a city councilwoman, so you attacked me personally in a text message, telling people not to vote for me. But more importantly, you said that I was a plaintiff in a lawsuit, which that's untrue. You know that that's not true. I'm not a plaintiff. Saying that my attorney, that I'm trying to pressure other council members, and so that my personal attorney can make money, and that's not that's, first of all, I think that's totally wrong to say that, because when have I ever pressured council members? I don't understand where you get that information. I mean, if you're talking about closed session, I think it's important.
We're still going into a personal attack.
I'm not
I'm
attacking
asking
her.
you for the last time, you have to stop the personal attack.
Okay, no personal
But
attacks.
that's what you're doing.
Okay, well, let me say this then.
Please stop
I won't-
that.
So let's just.
Or I'm going to turn off the microphone and stop you.
Let's just say this then. I don't think it's appropriate for city council members who are still in office, right, not retired, to send out text messages during the campaign, that make false allegations against other colleagues, because what that does is that it creates more distrust on the dais. It doesn't lead to, goodwill. And I think that it's not positive to do that. It's not right to do that. And so I think it'd be very important for us to reflect on that. So when an election season comes, how we behave with each other on the dais, how we use, our time speaking on the dais, we should not be making personal attacks like that. And so also to be sending out, text messages that are also putting out falsehoods and creating more of that distrust, and I think that's not positive. So I'm not making any personal attacks. So just, I know you're looking at me right now. And I'll keep it in broad in generalizations. So the other thing I want to say is, there was a gentleman who spoke at the meeting, and he said that the item that I brought forward, and this is part of the, specifically to the item that I brought forward regarding Mayor Friedman from Beverly Hills, who brought up it was a mayor's summit against anti-Semitism, directing change from City Hall. That item was brought up on Thursday, October 10th. I just want to read into the record a letter that Mr. Friedman sent in.
I was going to suggest, what you're really trying to do is a personal point of order, not a 16 item. Correct? Because you don't have a proposal right now. So what you're really doing is a personal point of order. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, you know what? Personal point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can I please have a personal point of order to
City
make
Attorney?
this?
Point of personal privilege is limited to what occurred at that council meeting.
Okay, so that's not correct. I stand corrected.
Okay.
No, you are correct.
So let me just read this. It's a quick paragraph into the record.
Hold on 1 minute.
You can't raise a point of personal privilege today about what occurred at a different
Previous
council meeting.
council meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's to respond to something that's said then.
Yeah, so it's a 16 item. Yeah, it's a 16 item.
Funny, because you're being such an asshole right now. Is this really funny?
Okay.
It's a 16 item.
People,
Okay, so I want to
of
read,
you-
I think it's my time. I just want to read this.
Hold
real
on
quick.
1 minute.
I think he's just being completely disrespectful over here. He's laughing out loud while Oscar is trying to make a point. So you talk about civility, and I have to listen to this?
Okay. We're,
Not much longer, that's right.
We-
Thank God, not much longer.
okay, Councilmember Para, Councilmember Zwick, all of you. This forum is to conduct city business, not to hold personal gripe sessions, regardless of who you are. Council member, you know I support you. But we're way off the point of any 16 item. I know what you want to do, I understand. But I also understand that in conjunction with the people's business, this is far away from the people's business.
I
right now.
disagree with you, because here's the thing. The people's business is to get the truth. When you have a group of people lodging false allegations,
But
against
that was
people.
last meeting.
It was last meeting, but the thing is, I want to read something in the record, and then I'm done. If you give me 3 more minutes or less, I'll be done. May I have those 3 minutes? So,
Read
just
your
want to read this.
paragraph.
So the allegation made is that I brought the item forward, right, to somehow shield myself from an attack from John Keane. John Keane's letter hit on October 11th, and I want to just read this for the record. This is from Mayor Friedman. I want to thank you and your colleagues for the vote supporting the 2024 Mayor Summit Against Anti-Semitism, Directing Change from City Hall. It was my honor to announce the program to all in attendance at the Westside Council of Governments meeting, which you chaired on October 10th, 2024. At the conclusion of the meeting, I was appreciative of your offer to bring the proposal of support as well as the invitation to attend the summit to your colleagues at your next council meeting. It is the collective responsibility of all elected officials to combat all forms of hate, especially anti-Semitism, and it is gratifying to know that you and your colleagues support this effort. One of the speakers in October 22nd called this a stupid stunt, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows the truth, that this item came from a sincere willingness to be in solidarity with my Jewish brothers and sisters against anti-Semitism, and I brought that item forward. It was not a political stunt. It was something that sincerely came from me representing my city and the West Side COG. So I just wanted to put that in for the record. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, Councilmember Zwick.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand what is being proposed.
It isn't, nothing's
Okay.
been proposed.
Okay.
There was no motion.
Well, just one more.
With that,
Last thing. So I'm not proposing anything, but just in conclusion, I just want to announce to everyone that I have lodged a complaint against Councilwoman Gleam Davis for violating our confidentiality rules that we just approved regarding closed session because she alleged that I pressured council members to settle. We've never had a public discussion about that. And then the other piece of evidence that I want to show is that Councilwoman Davis also talked to speakers and let them know that settlement was even something that was on the agenda in closed session when the word settlement never came up. So there's two pieces of evidence that I want the city attorney to look into, and I want to officially file a complaint against Councilwoman Gleam Davis for violating our
I
rules.
do that in writing to the city attorney.
Well, it's already been done.
And I welcome the investigation, unlike
If they-
you in previous times.
Oh, that's great.
Are we done with this? I hope. I see
Happy
Mike.
last meeting.
No,
If no council members are punched up, then there's nothing else.
then with that,
I move that we adjourn.
we adjourn this meeting before 9 PM. That's a miracle. Thank you very much. It's adjourned at 8:56 PM. We'll see you on the 10th of December.